Complaints against the former Chief Justice, where Hlophe alleged, among other things, that the former top judge conducted himself improperly and unlawfully in his handing of the complaint against him by Deputy Judge President Patricia Goliath. Hlophe alleged that the former Chief Justice had a private conversation with Goliath in his absence over the matter and thereafter presided over the issue in a manner that was inconsistent with his oath of office. Mogoeng, however, denied all the allegations.
The Tailings Working Group has expressed concern over what it calls delayed justice for residents of Jagersfontein in the Free State. It's 3 years since 2 people were killed after the structural failure of a mine tailings dam near the small town. Over 140 families were displaced after approximately 164 homes were destroyed. 1,600 hectares of agricultural land was also affected. The group's convener Hassan Logot.
It will be 3 years of Jagersfontein and the community has not received a report about what happened to them, how they can be compensated, because they have become more poorer. Because if you remember, 2022 just came after COVID. This community is devastated. When we have a national dialogue, we ask, why is it that our government ignores what the Human Rights Commission did? It's hearing. They did hearings with us in 2018, which found out what the mining-affected communities want. And the government has not responded to that. Now they want to spend money to have another dialogue. I'll throw that book at them to say, answer these things. And DMR, can you come to these meetings and not hide away?
And finally, the U.S. President Donald Trump has acknowledged that there's real starvation in Gaza. He has directly contradicted the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Speaking in Scotland, Trump said the U.S. would support the establishment of new food centers that would be easier to access. He told reporters that it's up to Israel to ensure that the food gets to where it's needed.
Look, we're giving money and we're giving food, but we're over here and we're over in the United States. He's got to sort of like run it. I want to make sure they get the food, every ounce of food, because that food isn't being delivered.
Recapping the top story, the police's anti-kidnapping task team has arrested 2 suspects in Meyersdal and Johannesburg. The suspects were found with unlicensed firearms destined for the Western Cape. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you. Welcome to SFM Sport. We'll start with rugby with the Springboks. They're looking ahead to the Rugby Championship focus points. And in swimming, Peter Coetzee targets SA's first medal at the World Aquatics Championships. We'll have details just before 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We start in Joburg with good news. The N3 South crash at Elands Interchange. That is now out of the way. The scene is being cleared. Protesting this morning, Bez Valley, Besaidno Valley, Albertina, Cecilia Road, between 3rd and 4th. Some burning tyres and rocks on the road there. If you normally use Albertina, Cecilia, you'll be diverted around that Bez Valley area. Looking okay between Pietermaritzburg and Durban, both directions. Importantly, no roadwork surprises going from Ashburton over to Pietermaritzburg. And Cape Town moving along nicely. The Blackheath industrial area remains open this morning. Police are on the scene monitoring potential protesting, but roads at this stage open. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Seven minutes after 6 on this Tuesday, the 29th of July, 2025. The world you're waking up to this morning is not what it was when you went to bed last night. And that's because while you slept, key news, events and developments in this country, on this continent and around the world have shaped, carved and contoured your world. That's why we are here to give you your morning brief as you start your day. Among some of what we've placed into your morning briefing folder this morning will be these stories. The acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga prepares to retire from judicial service in the coming days, but proper retirement seems to elude him as he prepares to take on arguably one of his toughest and most consequential assignments yet. his commission of inquiry into allegations of criminality, political interference, and corruption within the country's criminal justice system is set to hold its first consultations with KwaZulu-Natal Police Chief Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Addressing the Commission's first media briefing, Madlanga has revealed that the consultation will happen imminently. Madlanga has outlined the Commission's initial logistics, revealing its key personnel while also committing to its terms of reference that include the daunting task of ensuring the protection of witnesses from harm. So we'll focus on that story and give you some analysis at about 7:20 with Lawson Naidu, and we'll discuss that media briefing, the first media briefing, and what we've learned and gleaned into the workings of the Madlanga Commission as it prepares to knuckle down to get this work done that has been commissioned by President Cyril Ramaphosa. In politics, we'll tell you this. The Controversies party is sharpening its legal spear, preparing to do battle in the country's apex court tomorrow against President Cyril Ramaphosa on 3 fronts. One of them being the president's appointment of the Madlanga Commission, the others being his placement on leave of absence of the police minister Senzo Mchunu and his appointment of Professor Firoz Kachalia to act in Mchunu's absence. At the top of 7 a.m. we'll unpack the details of that challenge. We'll be joined hopefully by the MK party's spokesperson Nhlamulo Ndlela. We have that confirmed, but let's see. We'll have that conversation in the second hour at the top of 7 a.m. Be honest. How do you use artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT and DeepSeek in relation to your academic work if you are studying or other endeavors such as reports in your professional life? Do you use it as a tool to give you pointers in the direction your research or your writing should go, or do you just give detailed prompts and let these technologies spew out a near perfect paper that you then just, put your name to and then you submit it? The ethics of AI in education has been a topic that many universities and other educational institutions have been grappling with over the past few years, with no clear answers on how to curb uncritical and unethical over-reliance on these tools while encouraging their creative and ethical incorporation into how students learn and how they are assessed. Well, the University of Cape Town has a new AI in education policy out, and among its key features is doing away with the use of AI detection tools such as Turnitin's AI score. Turnitin. So if you are studying, you will know all about Turnitin. So Turnitin has that AI score. So the University of Cape Town is doing away with that as of October, I believe. Instead, the university is hoping to equip students with the skills and ethical understanding to use AI meaningfully in academia and beyond that in the workforce, moving away from what's called fear-based responses to a response that is rooted in engagement and preparedness. So at about 9:15, just before we wrap up the show, we'll speak to Sukaina Walji, who is the director for the Center for Innovation in Learning and Teaching at the University of Cape Town. So those are some of the signposts and milestones that we will encounter along our journey over the next 3 hours. Speaking of that journey then, morning brief team to your stations, please, for the takeoff. And Musa at the news desk, Rob Byrne on traffic, Zaikan watching all things sport, Melissa Buta with the morning brief in brief, Ndauleng Lechela with insights into the economy, business and your market updates throughout the morning, and Sipho Mantula with an overview of developments around the continent in his Africa update coming up at about 7:20. Your calls, your conversation, give us a call 086 000 2032. Let me say it a bit slower. 086 000 2032. Please send me WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. Let's get the Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief underway.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, you're listening to the Morning Brief on this Tuesday morning, and among some of the stories that we will cover in the next few minutes will be an update coming through on the situation in Gaza, which continues to be deteriorating in as far as the humanitarian and starvation situation in that enclave is concerned. But before we get there, let's get started with the morning briefing session with Melissa Buta's Morning Brief in Brief. Good morning to you, Melissa. Let's start with what Action SA has been saying. They've introduced a bill. Tell me what this bill is about. We foreshadowed it a few months ago when they were still saying they were going to introduce it. They've now introduced it.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Action SA has introduced a bill proposing sweeping executive reforms to tackle governance failures and overspending. The bill seeks to abolish all 43 deputy minister roles, citing their lack of constitutional authority, and mandates parliamentary approval of ministerial appointments to curb unchecked presidential reshuffles. It also allows Parliament to remove individual ministers through motions of no confidence, and expands the number of non-MP ministers to 4, opening the cabinet to skilled professionals. As part of a broader cabinet reform package, it also includes the Cut Cabinet Perks Bill, which targets 1.5 billion rand in annual savings through oversight of ministerial handbook. Public comment is open for the next 30 days for this bill.
Yeah, let's see how that unfolds. And Action SA is, of course, critical of the cost of having deputy ministers. Speaking of Parliament, tell me what's happened within the DA caucus, and in particular, its leadership of the various portfolios. I see that Emma Powell is out from international relations.
Yes, so DA MP Emma Powell has resigned as the party's international relations spokesperson amid allegations of spreading disinformation during a DA trip to the U.S. She cited personal and political pressure, including threats and harassment. The DA has confirmed her resignation and appointed Ryan Smith to replace her. The ANC criticized the trip for allegedly undermining South Africa's foreign policy, while the DA defended it as a fact-based outreach. Powell also faced claims of falsely stating that President Ramaphosa's envoy was denied U.S. diplomatic credentials amid that time of this trip.
And this is an interesting one, Melissa. Yesterday, I found myself looking for that old 1994 Mandela for President campaign pin, lapel pin that people used to wear back then. And it all has to do with this situation coming out of Limpopo and what the IEC has said to one Boy Mamabolo.
Yes, so the IEC has confirmed that the party Mandela for President was denied registration due to failure to meet signature and voter threshold requirements. Concerns were also raised about the party's name and colors, potentially misleading voters by implying a link to Nelson Mandela. Additionally, inconsistencies in the party's documentation regarding the leader's name suggest possible misrepresentation. As a result, the party remains unregistered, so it will be interesting to see if they will go forward or let it go.
And all in a day's work on social media, while we were discussing Mandela for President being the name of a political party, something else was brewing involving Simphiwe Dana and Nomza Mombata. Tell me what that is about.
So social media had a field day yesterday after South Africa's Afro-soul musician Simphiwe Dana stirred controversy, accusing actress Nomza Mombata and the Shaka Ilembe production team of appropriating her signature Afrocentric hairstyles without giving her due credit. In a now deleted post on Instagram and X, Dana expressed frustration over the alleged lack of acknowledgement, claiming the hairstyles showcased by Mbata were inspired by her long-standing Afrocentric aesthetic. Social media reactions were divided. Some did support Dana's call for recognition, while others argued that the styles are part of a shared African heritage which existed long before Dana, and they had pictures and videos to prove this. Dana has yet to comment further, and neither Mbata nor the Shaka Ilembe representatives have responded to this. So we'll see if people will give her break today, or if they will continue, to bring the proof against her.
Listen, it's safer for me to just not wade into those waters. I've only had one hairstyle. I've only had one hairstyle for the past decade and a half or something. Thank you for that. That's Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, here's how it's looking. Let me tell you about a fire danger warning that is out from the South African Weather Service. And it says extremely high fire danger conditions are expected over the Swellendam and Hasekwa municipalities of the Western Cape. So do take care in those regions. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria is fine with a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 18. Johannesburg fine 1 to 18. Mbombela fine 1 to 17. Polokwane fine -1 to 15. Mahikeng fine 3 to 18. Bloemfontein will be fine with a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 17. Kimberley fine 5 to 20. Uppington will be partly cloudy and windy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 14 to 23. Cape Town, partly cloudy, 15 to 26. George, partly cloudy, 7 to 28. Gqeberha, fine, 8 to 25. East London will be fine with a minimum of 10 and a maximum of 25. Durban, fine, 13 to 22. Richards Bay will be fine with a minimum of 11 and a maximum of 22. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg also fine with a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 22.
Hear the rhythm, feel the heat at the Imbaula Music Festival in partnership with SAFM, where music, culture and community come alive. Join us on the 2nd of August 2025 at Pretoria Botanical Gardens from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. to vibe to Sanal musician Calvin Momo, Amanda Black, Zing Lumalo, Trompis and many more. More than just music. Share stories, spark change and unite against gender-based violence. Grab your tickets at imbaula.co.za. Brought to you by SAFM and SABC1. Hear the rhythm, feel the heat. Imbaula. Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
So the UN Emergency Relief Coordinator, Tom Fletcher, has welcomed as progress the trickle of humanitarian aid that's begun to flow into Gaza since Israel announced what's being described as a tactical pauses of its military operations in the Palestinian enclave. However, Fletcher said the aid being delivered now is a drop in the ocean, warning that vast amounts more are needed to stave off famine and a catastrophic health crisis. His comments come as US President Donald Trump has also added his voice to those expressing concern over the famine in Gaza, breaking rank with Israel, whose Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has denied that his country is applying a policy of starvation or that there's actually starvation in Gaza. Trump has directly contradicted that position, acknowledging that there is, quote-unquote, real starvation in the region and saying, quote-unquote, you can't fake that. All this as Gaza's health ministry announced that a further 14 people have died of starvation in the first 24 hours of this week. Let's speak to Cassandra Dorasamy, who is campaigner at Amnesty International. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. So piecing together everything said by various international stakeholders, including the UN, the Trump administration, various international countries voicing their concerns, news agencies recently, such as your Reuters and BBC and others, and humanitarian agencies. What picture is emerging of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza?
Well, good morning to Thulasizwe and good morning to your listeners. It's an understatement to say that the situation is beyond desperate in Gaza. As you mentioned, the WHO has reported 14 people who've been killed from malnutrition this past week, and a total of about 65 just this month. And the numbers are increasing on a daily basis. And when we think of malnutrition, there's long-term effects to be considered for the population. There is the cognitive ailments that come with it. There is physical growth stuntedness that comes with it. If we're talking about children, there's extreme fatigue, and we might know malnutrition in the traditional sense of you lose fat, you lose protein, and then you start to lose bodily functions. And I heard one doctor who had been in Gaza speak about a young girl who had reached that final stage, and her heart stopped functioning just from malnutrition, from her body not having enough to keep it going. And those are the effects that we're seeing on a large population group. We're hearing reports from our partners on the ground, people who are telling us that there's not enough food for anyone, whether you are rich or poor, whether you have enough money or not, across the board in Gaza, wherever you come from.
Yeah.
People are hungry. People haven't eaten in days. Then you have these tactical pauses that have been announced. And like Mr. Fletcher said, it's not enough. It's a drop in the ocean of what's actually needed at scale.
So,
this has been coupled with airdrops, from Israel and other countries that Israel has invited to join. And these airdrops have caused harm to Palestinians on the ground, posing a risk. You can imagine a huge creep being dropped on a population group. This is risky behavior, and it's also undignified to expect people to receive aid in this way.
So, having said everything you've just said, what are we to make then of the denials by Benjamin Netanyahu that there's a policy of starvation being applied in Gaza, and his denial that there's even a starvation in Gaza?
Well, we've been met with many denials from Prime Minister Netanyahu. I don't think it should surprise us in any way that 2 years since the start of the genocide, there is this continuous denial of the conditions in Gaza or of a systemic policy towards people in Palestine. It's a denial tactic that seems at least now to be falling on deaf ears as the international communities cannot deny anymore that there is a genocide happening and that there is starvation in Gaza, and this is systemic. And we see it in the fact that Israel has not allowed aid in the continuous blockade of Gaza for many years before the start of the genocide. Even in these tactical pauses, the fact that they are so restricted, not allowing aid in at the scale that's needed, the fact that it's come so late after people have started dying from malnutrition, it shouldn't surprise us. And it's progress, at least, to see more and more people and more states speaking up about it.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Cassandra Dorasamy, campaigner with Amnesty International.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey, good morning to you, Zai. So the Springboks are back in camp and they're being joined by the Junior World Champions.
Exactly, Tulas. 1 week they're under 20 heroes. Next, they're
Next
carrying the
day.
water bottles for Siya Kolisi and company. So, yeah, humble beginnings for them, but nevertheless, they are enjoying their time with the big boys. That's the junior world champions. They've joined the Springboks. They're in camp. They're preparing to defend their rugby championship crown. 37 players have been called up for the 2-week camp in Johannesburg, including the 3 Junior World Cup winners. Now, the key focus areas will include sharpening the breakdown battle, solidifying goal, that's goal kicking with Henry Pollard, and integrating the young stars, Batubile Shlekani, Cheswell Euster and Hashim Peed. The Boks face Australia at Ellis Park on the 16th of August before heading to Cape Town for the second test. On to soccer, former Banyana captain Intabeleng Dunga Modiko insists the team should be proud of their efforts at the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations despite finishing 4th.
This WAFCON wasn't a qualifier for the World Cup, and maybe the next one, all the players will be, looking forward to that one because it's a big one. Everybody wants to see themselves playing in the world stages. So, I think, to encourage them. No, I don't think I should be encouraging them. They will bounce back. They've got that belief. It's part of them, to bounce back. So I think they will do well.
Now, soccer from the continent. 2-time champions Morocco have become the first team to arrive at the 2024 CAF African Nations Championship, setting the tone for what promises to be an electrifying tournament co-hosted by Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda. Morocco's early arrival signals intent as the 2-time winners look to dominate Group A, which includes the hosts Kenya, DR Congo, Angola and Zambia. They begin their campaign on Sunday against Angola at the Nyayo National Stadium. On to cricket, and Ola Pendergrass hit an unbeaten 67 as Ireland secured a 2-game sweep in their one-day international series against Zimbabwe at Stormont. Now, following a 97-run victory at the Belfast venue, as well as a 3-0 win in the T20 series earlier this month, Ireland won by 4 wickets yesterday. And finally, versatile swimmer Peter Coetzee looks set to challenge for South Africa's first medal at the World Aquatics Championship in Singapore. He qualified for the 100-meter backstroke final. Coetzee was third fastest in the semi-finals, touching the wall in 52.29 seconds. Only Hubert Kos of Hungary and Kliment Kolesnikov of Russia were quicker. The 21-year-old South African, who won gold at the World Student Games in Germany earlier this month with an African record, will return to the pool for the 100-meter backstroke final today just before 2 p.m. That's a wrap. We'll swim back top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, a former municipal manager of the Umzimkhulu municipality in KwaZulu-Natal is expected to appear in a local magistrate's court today. The 55-year-old man was arrested yesterday in connection with the murder of Sindiso Makaka in 2017. The police's anti-kidnapping task team has arrested 2 suspects in Meyersdal in Johannesburg. The suspects were found with unlicensed firearms destined for the Western Cape. And trade union Solidarity has reached out to Fly Safair CEO Elmar Conradi, urging him to intervene in the pilot strike and bring parties back to the negotiating table. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's a slow start on the road from Pretoria down to Joburg this morning on the busy N1. We've got a crash in exactly the wrong place. It's just down by Olifantsfontein. Has been cleared, but it's back traffic up through towards the Brockfontein interchange already. N3 North is being held up between Marlborough Drive and Buccleuch interchange. And the Mike 1's pretty heavy this morning from Gold Reef City all the way through to Empire Road. Coming into that, the M2 from Joe Slovo. Very slow to get into that Mike 1. Always an indication. The Mike 1 is pretty heavy if it backs up the M2. And protesting in Bez Valley along part of Albertina Sisulu Road between 3rd and 4th. If you normally use that route, we are getting live reports that motorists are being diverted around that one. Dustport Tunnels heavy in Pretoria, both directions. There's queuing pressure there. Durban through to Pietermaritzburg looks fine today. Yesterday was a real nightmare. Ashburton through to Pietermaritzburg with a single lane section for roadworks, but none of that this morning. The route is operating normally. N2 South already backlogging from Umgena Road through towards Spaghetti Junction. That's possibly a broken down vehicle. It has that feel about it. And Cape Town, very busy around Kales River this morning. The Van Riebeeck Road has a crash just north of Stellenbosch Arterial. So if you're driving from Blackheath up to Kales River, that is fairly slow. Baden-Powell, Spine Road and Strandfontein, all of those routes already full and slow go through the Strandfontein area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
All right, for the first update of the morning, let's turn to Ndauling Lechela. Ndauling, I don't know who Spear is. I know for a fact that it's not Spear of the Nation, Controversies at all. My dry jokes aside, tell me about Spear and tell me about them acquiring an industrial park.
So Spear, morning to us firstly, and Spear is it's a property company really based in the Western Cape. So their strategy just includes acquiring a whole lot of diversified property within the province, from industrial parks to retail properties to even office parks. Now, over the past 12 months or so, they've been really strengthening their position within the industrial logistics side of the property segment. And this time around, they've bought another industrial park called Konsani in Cape Town for 437 million rand. The deal includes the land, buildings, and on-site rental enterprise, which Spear will purchase as a going concern from Andrena Property Group. The industrial park is almost fully occupied with a low vacancy rate of 0.26%. The property is expected to yield an initial return of 9.7%. Now, the leases at Kansani Industrial Park have an average remaining term of 3.25 years, with annual rental increases averaging 7.1%. Spear believes the acquisition aligns with its strategy to expand its portfolio of industrial assets in the province, boosting its geographical diversification and exposure to in-demand industrial areas. Now, the company expects the property to contribute 23.4 million rands in profit over the next 12 months and plans to invest 34 million rands in upgrades over the next 5 years to boost the asset's value and rental potential.
And Sea Harvest expects to catch a big haul as far as earnings go.
That's right, Thulas. And this is the second trading update the group has released, showing that they expect even higher profits. This would be for the 6 months ending June. According to the company's trading statement, earnings are expected to range between, or growth in earnings expected to range between 88 to 93% higher compared to the same period last year. This positive outlook is attributed to strong international demand for Cape hake, improved catch rates, and operational efficiencies in the company's local fishing operations, as well as solid performance in the dairy business. But the abalone segment faced challenges during the first half, impacted by soft demand, lower selling prices, and a stronger rand. Despite this, the company's overall performance is expected to be robust, driven by the strong demand for its products. Sea Harvest will release its full financial results on the 1st of September, which will provide more color into those numbers.
Yeah. So give us a sense then of how we closed yesterday in Dowling and how we've opened in those markets that have opened today.
A bit of a boring day when it comes to markets.
Boring. Such a strong
word. It was really a boring day, if you ask me. It seems like investors are hitting pause on equity markets as they await fresh catalysts, that being the Fed rate's decision, more tech earnings, and trade developments. And with that, we saw U.S. stocks choppy, closing mixed overnight. Trade similar back at home, with stocks mostly in the red ahead of the SARB's meeting. But when I did ask analysts, most said it's nothing to worry about, just some profit taking, as there's been a sell-off in SA markets, that is. The all share shedding 0.2% in yesterday's close. Moving over to the currency scene, the rand under pressure this morning, this as the dollar strengthens. It's sitting at 17.91 to the greenback. And over in Asia, markets starting the day on the back foot as trade jitters somewhat return. Investors, they are eyeing the outcome of the US-China talks. Then lastly, in the commodity markets, oil holding steady after yesterday's uptick. It's at $68 per barrel.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ntauling Lechela with the first update of the morning. She'll be back just after 7:30 for the second update here on the Morning Brief.
Africa Update on SAFM.
For that, let's say good morning to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, let's start in Yaoundé. Cameroon goes to the elections in October, but controversy already emerging about who gets to stand as a candidate and who doesn't. In particular, one opposition candidate being disqualified.
Refreshing morning, Tulas, and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Tulas, we are seeing trouble coming in Cameroon with the disqualification of the opposition leader, Maurice Kamto. The Electoral Commission, Tulas, has only approved 13 applicants for the presidential candidate, but their electoral justice system, Tulas, allows rejected candidates that within 48 hours they can contest that ruling, and that's where Maurice Kamto's team has complied with this deadline and filed this appeal on time, and that's where the decision to us will take almost 2 months for the court to come into the ruling in terms of how will they deal with the disqualification of Maurice Kamto. We know, Tulas, that these elections are critical in Cameroon, considering that they are slated on the 12th of October, alongside Paul Biya, who's going for the 8th term. And there's another candidate, Cabral Libil, from the PCRN, and Joshua Osia from SDF. Those are the ones who have been validated to us. And that's where we see crisis coming in West Africa once more, with this electoral nomination process under siege.
Why is the United States halting all visa processing services in Niamey in Niger?
Tulas, you will recall last year the American soldiers had to withdraw from Niger last year, September, when the ruling junta ordered them to leave, and this is 1,000 American troops. But also they are using this concept of national security, and this came from Marco Rubio, who says that the State Department, until further notice, they have suspended all routine visa services at its embassy in Niamey. But you'll always know, Tulas, exception will always go to the diplomatic and official visas that will be processed. But like I said, this is a revenge that comes, or you can say an anger that comes from the U.S. after they've been asked to leave Niger last year, September.
That's an interesting one. And then to this mystery, Sipho, that's playing itself out in Southern Africa. Tell me about the search for the military-style camps that the Lesotho Police Commissioner says exist in South Africa.
Tulas, we saw this story coming over the weekend, and yesterday the Board of Commissioners in South African Police Service have to engage with their counterparts in the Lesotho Mounted Police Service, Advocate Boroto Matsoso, saying that Tulas, there are some Basotho getting military training at certain farms, and he said it was a legitimate concern. Now, our security services, what we'll call the National Joint Operational Intelligence Structure, Tulas, had to engage also and say that, is it true? And hence there is a deployment that has been done on the ground, Tulas, and it seems that they've never seen them, because there are rumors that they are in some of the farms, Tulas, and provinces that have been raised, Free State, Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal, Tulas. But this has been raised by our National Commissioner, Fanima Semola, that there's no need for the people of this country to be living in fear, Tulas. They are engaging with their Lesotho counterparts about those rumors. And these are issues around the land claim, Tulas, of losing their land. And you remember the MP who was arrested just recently, Dipolo. This has been linked that there might be that military training that has been happening. And Tulas, we know this country, this is not for the first time we get some mercenaries training. Even Afrikaners, Tulas, they have their so-called military camps. But as you know, we have a Foreign Military Assistance Act that will deal with such delinquents or armed groups.
Yeah, and in fact, while you mentioned that, I'll be in conversation with Willem Els from the Institute for Security Studies about that very topic in the next few minutes. Lastly, Sipho, you have two events that you wanted to flag and highlight for us in as far as your historical archive goes.
Tulas, I thought let's touch on this one, and whether we can confirm it, whether the compensation or reparation was paid to the family of Biko on this day. They say it was 65,000, Tulas. And the then apartheid government, they said that this money, when they were paying it, it was not about admitting guilty. But we know, Thulas, once you pay reparations, it's an acknowledgement of a guilt of a conduct that you have done. And that's why when they say that when they paid that money, the file of Biko was closed. But we know, Thulas, the TRC, almost a decade ago, they opened this case, and there were people who came and confessed about their involvement in the death of Stephen Bantu Biko. Look, during that time, Thulas, 46 years ago, 65,000, what was it, Thulas, for the life of this great son of the soil? Today, 35 years ago, Thulas, the South African Communist Party was legally relaunched after it was unbanned in 1990, Thulas. You will recall that the SACP during that time, Thulas, had leaders like Joe Slovo, Ronnie Kasarov, Daniel Tlome, people like Signy Mafumadi, Chris Dlamini, Moses Maiki. So those were the leaders who were in the interim leadership of SACP when it was relaunched in Soweto, where there was 45,000 people during that time. And you can see, Thulas, the relation in the Tripartite Alliance, it's not so good to us, but these are the moments that happened 35 years ago in 1990 in Soweto when SACP was relaunched. Asante sana Thulas, as was leading the conversation, SAFM observing the International Mandela Month.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula with your Africa update for this morning.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
16 minutes to 7, and let's delve deeper into one of the stories that Sipho Mantula was highlighting in that Africa report. The South African Police Service says it has found no evidence to support allegations made by Lesotho's Police Commissioner Boroto Matsoso that military-style training camps for Basotho are operating on South African farms. This follows growing claims linked to the Basotho Covenant Movement's campaign to reclaim parts of South Africa, including parts of the Free State, the Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal as historically Basotho land. But the SAPS has assured the public that investigations are ongoing, but no confirmation of such camps has been found. Let's speak to Velem Els. He is Senior Training Coordinator on Terrorism and Explosives at the Institute for Security Studies. Good morning to you, Velem, and thank you for your time. When the SAPS says they've done a search, particularly a physical search of all the farms in and around the various provinces that had been mentioned and suggested as possible sites of these training camps, and that they found no evidence of their existence. Should we consider the matter settled and rest easy, believing that the Lesotho Police Commissioner was just making up stuff here?
Good morning to you. Yeah, this is very serious, especially against the backdrop of our previous experience with the training camps in Mpumalanga. So obviously, the South Africa is taking it very seriously. So traditionally, what happens when you get this type of information, especially some information from a neighboring or foreign country, your intelligence service and police service will get together. They will share information, and then they will operationalize it and go and investigate. So we believe that this is what's happened now. South Africa was provided with that evidence or the information. They went and they verified, and the feedback is that they could not find anything. But that doesn't mean that it's over and done with now. The file is still open, so there will be an ongoing investigation because, intelligence gathering and everything it's a process, and so we believe that they will keep on verifying this until they've got to the bottom of it.
Should we believe that it's not complete? I mean, the SAPS has been foregrounding the physical search, but I'm just curious as to the search that's not physical, the work that happens in the backdrop, the intelligence work. How important is it that that work continues?
It is very important because it's like diving into something, and then every day you're taking off another layer and a different layer until you get to the bottom of it. So it's a long process, and we believe that given the severity of the case and the weight of it, they will continue to delve deeper until they got to the very bottom of it.
But given what we know of our national security and intelligence infrastructure, if such training camps existed, would you expect our intelligence and national security infrastructure to be the first to know about it?
We would expect, I mean, we were found wanting with the Libyan camp, and that exposed a lot of our challenges, also the gaps. And in the meantime, they had the opportunity to start to rectify some of them. We are not where we're supposed to be or where we want to be, but we have made some progress. And that also, it prompts them to allocate sufficient resources and manpower, etc., in order to do a decent job about this one, because, you know, our security, national security is at stake.
But the plausibility of it, Velem, what do you make of the plausibility of a serious movement out of Lesotho with a grievance rooted in historical lands that they believe formed part of Lesotho and therefore would want to reclaim that land? What's the feasibility, given also the geographic location of Lesotho entirely within South Africa?
Yeah, you know, in South Africa, but everywhere else, you know, land is a very emotional issue. It's a historic issue. Here with us, we're experiencing it. But that's also something that's been coming for a long time with Lesotho. And also, you know, Lesotho has been quite unstable at some stages. South Africa, remember, when South Africa moved in to stabilize as part of the regional force and the actions that were taken there. So we've got a history of a real volatile situation within them domestically, but also they form very integral part of Southern Africa, South Africa, especially about the migrant labor force. And the borders are extremely porous and so on. So whatever happens there, eventually it will also affect us and vice versa. So that is why it is important that, you know, what is supposed to be on a political level should be dealt with on that level, but also then on your operational level where things can be verified and provide information to the politicians to make informed decisions. We should work on that level.
Lastly, whether or not these alleged camps are found and do exist, could this be a moment to, I don't know, part of the momentum that is generated by an investigation into these claims being channeled to addressing other elements of criminality that perhaps have their roots in syndicates and others working out of Lesotho? For instance, the SAPS is talking a lot about the area of illegal mining and the related illegal activities.
Yeah, you know, especially in your Free State Welcome area, as well as in the Northwest Province, we see that your Lesotho gangs are really dominating. It's come out in some of the investigations. It's also come out in some of the raids where people have been arrested, etc., and the mass shootings in some of the taverns that were linked back to them. So yes, it is an integral part of our challenge in South Africa. It's something that cannot be solved on a basis of just South Africa. We have to engage with them. We have to take hands, and not only between South Africa and Lesotho. It's a regional problem for SADC. And if we don't address it on that level, organized crime is just going to devour us.
All right, Velem, I've got to thank you for your time. That's Velem Els, who's Senior Training Coordinator on Terrorism and Explosives at the Institute for Security Studies.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Very heavy in parts of Pretoria. The mighty Mopani Highway queues at Theo Martins, and then queues again heavily from Bremer down to SKM Pafleli. Dustport Tunnel is jamming. Looks like something's happened inside the tunnel. It's very heavy backlogs both directions through there. The M1 South earlier crash at Olifantsfontein has been cleared, but it's left a backlog from Brockfontein all the way down to a New Road. Collision on Joburg's N3 North at Buccleuch. Traffic standing back through Limbro Park at this stage, and very heavy getting through Crown. The Mike 1 from Gold Reef City up to Parktown. The M2 from Joe Slovo into the Mike 1 all backed up as well. Durban through to Pietermaritzburg looks okay. Yesterday morning you had a single lane section after Ashburton. None of that today. The route is actually flowing very nicely. Tweeny Hill to Prospected on the N2 is busy, and we're queuing southbound. It is a stationary vehicle, as we thought it might be before Spaghetti Junction, so traffic currently sitting from Getty Road. Coming out of Chatsworth, heavy on the Higginson Highway. Chatsglen through to around about Mobeni. Unusual backlogs there as you head out towards the N2 highway. And Cape Town, heavy pressure on the N7 coming up from Mitchell's Plains through Epping. There's some delays at Samora Michelle, and then there's no traffic lights on the N7 at the N2, so coming past Vangate Mall it's heavy, and then through Langa up to Epping to about Viking Way. It's all very slow go there as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
No challenge is bigger than a willing nation. There is undoubtedly a solution for every problem. Get in touch with Lifeline South Africa on a variety of critical matters that affect our nation, such as mental and emotional health, gender-based violence, HIV and AIDS, and HIV testing services. For assistance, contact Lifeline Trauma and Crisis Line on 0861 322 322. Stop Gender Violence free call or WhatsApp number 0800 150 150. AIDS Helpline toll-free number is 0800 012 322 or WhatsApp on 084 922 8808. Lifeline South Africa, mental and emotional health for all. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me take one or two of those voice notes, starting with this one. Someone here reflecting on the Madlanga Commission and what we've heard so far from Acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga about the scope of the work to be done and his understanding of that work and some of the preparatory work that is being put into place to ensure that he fulfills the terms of reference of that Commission of Inquiry.
Morning, sir. The Madlanga Commission is there for the president to control the information that goes out to the media and to the public. The Madlanga Commission is there to control this whole investigation by the president so that what mustn't go out is not revealed. You know, this is a real hatchet job, this Madlanga Commission. Vince, Cape Town.
All right, Vince, thank you for that interesting take on that. The Commission chairperson, Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga, is assuring that it will all happen in public. The default position is that all hearings will happen in public, except for those rare occasions when there's a request, which he says he really will scrutinize before granting any request. So he's assuring that there will be transparency. But I hear the point you are making that you are quite skeptical that it will lead to a full ventilation and a transparent ventilation of those issues. Speaking of that, let me take a call from Denzel. Denzel in the Northwest, good morning to you. You want to talk about the same Commission of Inquiry?
Yes, sir. How are you? Fine.
Very well. How are you?
I'm good, man. Man, I don't think this mission will work out. Unless the ANC takes South Africa and its citizens serious. They never had that vision of building the country. They only looted. Since they started, they just looted. If they can just take the country and the citizens serious, I think that will work.
But now, how will the ANC, in your words, not taking the country seriously, impact the work of the Madlanga Commission?
What happened to Zondo's commission? They didn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
So many of the ANC leaders were corrupt, and they were mentioned in corruption. What happened to them? Nothing happened to them.
All right, I get the point you are making there, Denzel. Thank you for that. That's Denzel in the Northwest. I suppose he's talking about what comes after you've had this commission and everything has been ventilated in public. Then what? I suppose is the question. And I think the question was asked of Justice Madlanga yesterday. And also it happened on the same day that there was a report that came out from the presidency, I think, that was giving an update on the levels at which they are with implementation of the Zondo Commission of Inquiry recommendations. Of course, the backdrop of it all being some of the comments made recently by former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo about the pain of having to swear in individuals into cabinet that President Ramaphosa had appointed despite findings made by the Commission of Inquiry against them. So that's just some of the backdrop about implementation or otherwise of Commission of Inquiry recommendations. Eunice in Joburg, good morning. You want to talk about the situation in Gaza?
Yeah, yes, Dula.
Please go ahead.
You had the lady from Amnesty International earlier on. Last week you had the lady from Doctors Without Borders.
Yes.
Now, if all of them are going to be, in the Israeli government's opinion, talking nonsense, only yesterday in Israel you had two NGOs, that's B'Tselem and Physicians for Human Rights in Israel, saying what's happening in the Gaza Strip is genocide. Now, first of all, the Israeli government does not allow any media to operate in Gaza. Now, from whatever we've seen is transmitted, to neighboring countries or whatever, and we're seeing starvation there, which is used as a weapon of war. What Israel is doing, for example, the other day, they said there's a pause there. They showed you a whole string of trucks there, but in reality, only 10 trucks were allowed inside and the goods were confiscated and minimal aid was given there. And when those that went towards for food were shot at. So what is happening there, Thulasizwe, in my opinion, is the Auschwitz of our times, what we are seeing there. And it's actually a tragedy, and the world and the European Union countries are now standing up and saying, that Israel is committing genocide there, which we, by the way, our government took a position a year or two ago, and it was the correct position. So at least now, even Trump is saying that now what is happening there is wrong. And lastly, Thulasizwe, regarding the U.S. sanctions that's coming on to our country, which on 1st of August, I think what you should do is just a suggestion. I heard our own reporter who was the radio host here, Ridi Shabi, who's staying now in America, an excellent analysis of what's happening there.
Absolutely.
She actually said, how does the various who's pushing for these sanctions, the various lobby groups, and what our government should do. My suggestion is you get her on for at least 15 minutes and she will give a thorough analysis of what's happening there. I was quite impressed with the interview, when I heard it.
Yeah, she's always been impressive, has Ridi Tlabi. Thank you for that, Eunice and Joburg. That's a great suggestion, actually. Also, that emphasis, that's quite critical, that we tend to get ahead of ourselves, right? Sometimes that the mere suggestion that this has been raised as the specter of possibly the U.S. at some future date, possibly imposing sanctions on some ANC and government leaders. All that has happened is that this has passed through a committee in the House of Representatives. It's a long way off from saying and speaking almost in definitive terms about sanctions being imposed. And I think that's just part of what Ridi Tlabi was outlining in that podcast of hers. So that suggestion is not a bad one at all, to put things into perspective for all of us in terms of what's really happening on this issue, but also on other broader issues in the South Africa-United States relationship. And in fact, just very quickly, the 1st of August, the coming in of the tariffs may be actually a key point at which we might want to engage on that subject a bit further. 7 a.m., let's check in with N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, former municipal manager arrested for Makaka's murder to appear in court, and unlicensed firearms destined for the Western Cape intercepted. Good morning. A former municipal manager of the Umzimkhulu municipality in KwaZulu-Natal is expected to appear in a local magistrate's court today. The 55-year-old man was arrested yesterday in connection with the murder of former ANC Youth League Secretary-General Sindiso Makaka in 2017. Makaka was a councillor in the municipality when gunmen opened fire on the vehicle he was travelling in. Last month, the gunman Sibusiso Ngwenga pleaded guilty in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg. Ethlenda Mate is the National Police spokesperson.
The former municipal manager of the Umzimkhulu local municipality was arrested in Malvern. He was previously arrested in 2018 alongside the late mayor of the Umzimkhulu local municipality, a businessman, 2 former police officers and a hitman.
The police's anti-kidnapping task team has arrested 2 suspects in Meyersdal in Johannesburg. This is believed to be a huge blow to a syndicate involved in the trafficking of unlicensed firearms. The suspects were found with unlicensed firearms destined for the Western Cape. They've been linked to various other cases in Gauteng and the Western Cape. The arrests follow several days of surveillance and information gathering across provinces, where suspects involved in the moving of unlicensed firearms were identified. Trade union Solidarity says it's now looking to Flyers Affairs CEO Elmar Conradi for his intervention in the pilot strike. Solidarity reached out to Conradi yesterday, urging him to intervene in the strike action and bring parties back to the negotiating table. The strike has entered its second week. The union is demanding a 10.5% salary increase, while the airline is offering 5.7%. The pilots also say their roster is unpredictable. Solidarity Secretary General Gideon Du Plessis.
We would have had a settlement, but there are so many egos involved and things, sideshows that actually makes it difficult. So the sustainability of the company, we obviously take that into consideration. That's why we ask the CEO. We understand he's quite a skillful negotiator. Elmar Conradi, and a more reasonable person to deal with. So we want him to start to get involved. And then we have a settlement, as simple as that.
The Tailings Working Group has expressed concern over what it calls delayed justice for residents of Jagersfontein in the Free State. It's been 3 years since 2 people were killed after the structural failure of a mine tailings dam near the small town. Over 140 families were displaced after approximately 164 homes were destroyed. 1,600 hectares of agricultural land was also affected. The group's convener, Hassan Logod.
It will be 3 years of Jagersfontein, and the community has not received the report about what happened to them, how they can be compensated, because they have become more poorer. Because if you remember, 2022 just came after COVID. This community is devastated. When we have a national dialogue, we ask, why is it that our government ignores what the Human Rights Commission did? Its hearing. They did hearings with us in 2018, which found out what the mining affected communities want. And the government has not responded to that. Now they want to spend money to have another dialogue. I'll throw that book at them to say, answer these things. And DMR, can you come to these meetings and not hide away?
Further field, and finally, 4 people have been killed in a shooting incident in Manhattan in New York. This after a man walked into an office building and shot several people, including an off-duty police officer, before taking his own life. The New York Police Department's Commissioner Jessica Tisch later said the scene had been contained. The 27-year-old attacker is from Las Vegas. Showan Bryce Peace reports.
A picture of the gunman was quickly all over social media, walking confidently across the office plaza, sunglasses on and firmly gripping a long gun to his side. He reportedly entered 345 Park Avenue during rush hour around 6 p.m. The evening foot traffic in full flight. The shooting is said to have occurred inside the building, resulting in a massive law enforcement response within minutes, shutting down the scene for blocks while disrupting the rush hour. The officer killed was reportedly working security for the building on his day off, while the suspect is reported to have died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Recapping the top story, a former municipal manager of the Mzimkhulu municipality in KwaZulu-Natal is expected to appear in a local magistrate's court today in connection with the murder of former ANC Youth League Secretary General Sindiso Magaqa in 2017. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
You won't hear this in the news headlines, but it's worth talking about. Lorette, a 61-year-old woman, is a real Outsurance client who switched and now saves a newsworthy 725 Rand a month on her 2024 BMW X1. Get a quote today and see how much Outsurance could save you on your car insurance. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. You always get something out. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. Soccer, as Miguel Cardoso's Mamelodi Sundowns are sharpening their focus on domestic dominance and CAF glory again. And cricket news, the Proteas women are set to be crowned the stars at Empress Palace. Details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. Pretoria first up. Dustport Tunnel very heavy, both at north and south, coming off the Mopani Highway or heading up on Transaranya into the tunnel. Absolute standstill. A lot of sort of knock-on congestion onto alternative routes around that congestion as well. Also the mighty Mopani Highway coming into Pretoria. Heavy queues at Theo Martins, and then more queues down towards the SKM Pathlari junction. N1 through Midrand between Old Joburg Road and New Road is the congestion this morning. The N3 going north has a crash at Buccleuch, so very heavy coming up from the Alexandra area as you move up through Limbro Park into that one. Durban, plenty of traffic on the N2 today from Amansam-Toti up Twenty Hill into Prospectance. Heavy, more queues going up from the M7 through to Westwood Mall into the roadworks. The N2 breakdown at Spaghetti Junction going south has now been cleared. And Cape Town, fairly heavy on the highways. The N2 inbound between Robert Sobukwe and Main Roads jammed up, and the N1 inbound from Plattercliff Hill pretty heavy down towards Sable Road, and the old Stellenbosch Arterial Road coming in from Blackheath slow again up towards the R300. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's coming up to 9 minutes after 7 on this Tuesday. It's great to be in your company. This is the Morning Brief on SAFM. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. Here's what's coming up in this hour. We'll focus on the inaugural media briefing by the Commission of Inquiry led by the outgoing Acting Chief Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga into allegations of criminality, political meddling, as well as corruption within the criminal justice system. Yesterday, he gave us a sense of his understanding of the scope of the work to be done, but also introduced us to the team that he'll be carrying out that work with, as well as some of the conditions that may be in application. In the next few minutes, I'll be speaking to Lawson Naidu, Executive Secretary of the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution, just reflecting on that media briefing. Immediately after that, I'll tell you about the MK Party's preparations to do battle in the Constitutional Court against President Cyril Ramaphosa. And I said it will be on three fronts, really. It will be, one, the decision of the president to establish the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Secondly, it will be about his decision that the Minister of Police implicated in allegations by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, Senzo Mchunu, be placed on leave of absence. Just the legal grounding, constitutional grounding of that will be tested, as well as his appointment of Professor Firoz Kachalia as acting police minister in Mchunu's absence. So those are the three grounds. In the next few minutes, I'll also be talking to Nhlamulo Ndlela, who speaks on behalf of the MK Party. And then a bit later on, we will touch on the case in Lusikisiki. You remember the Lusikisiki massacre that happened in September last year, where 18 people were killed? That matter has advanced to the point where the trial actually started yesterday. We'll touch base with our reporter Nomzwanele Mngoma out of the Eastern Cape, who will give us a sense of how day one of that trial went. Your calls, and you are a part of this conversation, and I do want to hear from you through it all. Give me a call, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, or drop me a WhatsApp voice note on 061 410 4107. Let's get the second hour of the Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief underway.
SA Sport Awards reflect our collective nation-building spirit. Mzansi's sport heroes and heroines have shown resilience, persistence, passion, discipline, and world-class achievements in the sports fraternity. Nominees will be announced in August. Let us celebrate #IsinjaSeGame. Catch the 18th Annual SA Sport Awards on Sunday 24 August at 7:30 p.m. on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, then on SABC 1 at 8 p.m. Brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in partnership with SASCOG and SABC Sport. Celebrating sporting excellence.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
12 minutes after 7. Acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga's Commission of Inquiry into allegations of criminality, political interference and corruption within the country's criminal justice system is set to hold its first consultation with KwaZulu-Natal Police Chief Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Addressing the Commission's first media briefing, Madlanga has revealed that the consultation will happen imminently. Madlanga has outlined the Commission's initial logistics and personnel, also committing to its terms of reference that include ensuring the protection of its witnesses. Let's speak to Lawson Naidu, who is Executive Secretary of the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution. Good morning to you, Lawson, and thank you for your time this morning. Just your reflections on that media briefing. The sense I got was that the acting DCJ wanted to give us a sense of his understanding of the scope of the work to be done, but also managing expectations, especially when he was talking about how tight the timelines are for this work.
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and thank you very much. Indeed, I think it was very good that the acting Deputy Chief Justice addressed the media and the South African public yesterday to give us his perspective on how he's going to approach this mammoth task that he's been given. There were a few things I think that were important. Well, firstly, he said that the team had already been hard at work, which we could see from some of what he said. He's assembled a team of some 12 people, many eminent lawyers as evidence leaders, a chief investigator, and a secretary of the commission. So the team is in place and, as he put it, ready to hit the ground running. I think in relation to the timeframes, it's too early. There were lots of questions about whether he'll be able to meet the 6-month deadline that the Commission has been given. But until they've been able to establish exactly the scope of the work that they're going to be required to do, it's difficult for him to answer that question because it goes beyond just the allegations that were made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. It could go much further than that, and only then will they be in a position to really tell us about the time frame.
Yeah, in fact, Lawson, say a bit more about that. The more that we expect will be put on the table to test these allegations. It won't just be oral evidence, will it? Because the Peter Goss, I believe is the name, the person who's been appointed as the chief investigator. So are they looking to also complement it with their own investigation?
Well, for example, the Commission will be presented with evidence. That evidence is going to have to be tested. It cannot simply be taken at face value. And so that's why the chief investigator, as well as the legal team, will be assisting in that process, because it's likely that the Commission is going to hear different testimony, contradictory testimony from different witnesses, and they're going to have to make a judgment as to that conflicting testimony that they hear. So that's one part of the issue that the Commission is going to have to grapple with further down the line. But importantly, what Justice Madlanga said yesterday was that the first person that we're going to speak to is indeed Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. And he said that they will be having what he termed a consultation with Mkhwanazi in the coming days. And I think that makes perfect sense, because this whole commission came about because of what Mkhwanazi said. So they need to understand his perspective and to perhaps even get to look at some of the documents and the WhatsApps and so on that Mkhwanazi made reference to in his July 6th media conference, so that they can begin unpacking exactly what it is that they're dealing with in this case. And I would assume that they would follow that up with similar consultations with other senior members in the SAPS and perhaps other agencies, as well as with Minister Nkunu, who is on special leave, but he said he's ready to cooperate with the Commission.
Yeah. Often, Lawson, in situations like these, we watch how closely the terms of reference are framed in line with what the original allegation or public matter for inquiry was. What's your sense of that? I remember that with the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, for example, there was this concern that said it was then layered with a whole lot more than it was meant to investigate. What's your sense of the fidelity to the terms of reference, but also to the original allegations, the immediate questions requiring an immediate answer in a public manner?
Yeah, firstly, Thulasizwe, I don't think the terms of reference could or should necessarily be framed simply in terms of what Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi has said. He's pointed to a deeper rot within the system, and I think the terms of reference, which were published a week ago, do give the Commission the ability to delve into what Mkhwanazi said, as well as related issues. They've also been given the mandate to look at legislation, policy, as well as institutional arrangements within the criminal justice system, and to make recommendations on that aspect. That's the broader part of the terms of reference of the Commission, which I think is just as important. So I think, we also need to understand that there's the terms of reference that were gazetted last week. There are still regulations in terms of the Commission's Act that will need to be promulgated in the next couple of days. And then the Commission itself will set out its own rules of the inquiry, similar to how the Zondo Commission and other commissions of inquiry have done in terms of how do they receive information, how interviews and witnesses will be questioned, and so on. So there's a lot of detail which is work is underway in order to lay the basis for Madlanga and his team to get to work.
Lastly, Lawson, what's your sense of how well that the chairperson, Justice Madlanga, has been grappling with what former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has been grappling with, this sense of disillusionment with long processes such as commissions of inquiry that seems to prevail in pockets of South Africa at the moment?
Well, that's a lot to do, Thulasizwe, with the executive and legislative authority in the country. So it sits outside of the realm of commissions of inquiry. Their job is to get to the truth and to make recommendations. Then it's up to the executive, the president, and parliament to implement those recommendations in terms of the kinds of legislative changes that Zondo has recommended, institutional reform processes that need to be undertaken by the executive. So we need to direct our focus at the lack of pace by the presidency, the executive, and parliament in following through and giving us the kind of results that make commissions of inquiry important. They're important for giving us information, but there needs to be the follow-through, and that's where public frustration lies.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Lawson Naidoo, Executive Secretary of the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
All right, let's go to this other story now. A former senior official of the Umzimkhulu municipality has been arrested by the South African Police Service's Political Killings Task Team in connection with the murder of Sindiso Makaka, the former ANC Youth League Secretary General. Makaka was assassinated in 2017 after exposing corruption linked to a local municipal tender. Let's speak to Dr. Lwazi Makaka, who is the family spokesperson, who joins us now to give us the reaction to the news. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. It took about 8 years, and there were moments, I believe, and I suspect from your side as a family, when it looked like justice was going to elude the Makaka family. But it has all unraveled quite rapidly, especially in the last 2 to 3 months. Just your overall sense and reaction to the news of this latest arrest, as well as the conviction that we saw about a month or so ago.
Good morning to you, sir, and the listeners of SAFM. Yes, yesterday I got the call that the former MM of Umzimkhulu municipality has been rearrested in connection with the killings of Sindiso Makaka, the former ANC Youth League SG. As a family, we have a hope that there are many people who are going to appear in court in connection with this killing. As the hitman said, that there are some people he named some people, like a businessman, like a certain Mr. Nkosi who was driving a red BMW, like a certain policeman who escorted them from Mzimkhulu to Durban. All these people, we want them to come to the dock and answer for the killings.
Yeah. As you've been hearing the details that have been outlined by Sibusiso Ngcengwa in his confession, in his plea agreement, do they align with what the family always suspected in terms of the cast of characters involved, in terms of what the motivation was for the killing of Sindiso?
What I can say is there are some alignments there created with the family, just because the NM and the former mayor were arrested in 2018, and they were provincially withdrawn. Their cases were provincially withdrawn. But now, as there is this rearresting of the MM, it shows that there was a lot planned against the killing of Sindiso Makaka.
And tell me what your expectations are going forward. We've had this conviction based on a plea, agreement with the hitman Sibusiso Ngcengwa. The others, have pleaded not guilty and will stand trial. Just your sense of readiness on the part of the authorities, including the prosecutors, and the case being mounted. How confident are you that it will lead to more convictions?
As per the statement that was made by Sibusiso Ngcengwa, I think there are more convictions that are going to be done. And also, I hope that the state is not going to give MM a bail just because he is implicated in this murder case. To give him a bail will make things difficult for the family, just because we don't know what is going to happen when he is being bailed.
Were there any points in time, Dr. Makaka, where you as a family suspected that you'll never see justice for Sindiso Makaka? And I'd like you to also talk to those friends of Sindiso Makaka that remained steadfast, at great risk and peril to themselves as well, in insisting that there should be justice for that killing.
Definitely. We need justice for this killing. It must be done for Sindiso Makaka, and they must rot in jail. That's the view of the family and the view of the people of South Africa, just because these killings affected us a lot as a family, and even the community at large.
Yeah.
Yes.
And lastly, just tell us about the years have been passing since, Sindiso Makaka's killing, but I don't imagine that it gets easier. Just tell me about the family coming to terms with living without Sindiso Makaka, but also hearing constantly his name being invoked in public discourse, in the public discourse and conversations. How have you been coping since he was killed?
It was a terrible thing, more especially since his mother. Whenever there's an interview or there's a case, he wouldn't watch news, wouldn't listen to radio stations, just because this affected her a lot. Secondly, without Sindiso at home, life is not good, just because Sindiso was a breadwinner. He was a breadwinner. He had got 3 children, daughters, in fact. Now, as a breadwinner, you know that everything depends on you. Now, if you're no longer working or if you are no longer living, things do change dramatically.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Sorry, I thought you wanted to finish another point?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for your time this morning, Dr. Lwazi Makaka, who is the brother of the late Sindiso Makaka, just giving reaction to the latest arrest that has been effected by, surprise, surprise, the political killings task team of the SAPS.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you, Zai. So tell me about Sundowns. They are eyeing a historic clean sweep as the new season is kicking off.
It looks like when you said that, yeah, Miguel Cardoso is holding his broom. It's a yellow broom, guys, and they want to definitely bring a clean sweep. They're tossing everything out. They're tossing everything at it as well. They've got big guns, stars like Peter Shalulile, Lucas Ribeiro Costa, and of course, Sundowns are favourites for domestic honours while also chasing the CAF Champions League glory. They've also got a new signing of Fawaz Basadin, who joins a squad brimming with depth. Meanwhile, debutants Orbit College, they will enter their first top-flight season determined to survive. They're bolstered by the loan signing of Bafana winger Monapule Saleng. Now, the SAFA Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Thulani Ngwenya, has confirmed that the association will carry the costs of getting Gabriela Salgado back on her feet following a horrific injury in her Women's Africa Cup of Nations semi-final, and that was to Nigeria. Salgado stayed down on the floor while her teammates were inconsolable after a tackle from behind broke her leg in the 83rd minute.
SAFA will be managing and because she belongs to JVW and she'll be back in the country, we will also rope them in and will not really hand over to JVW, but we'll manage together because in women's football, we still try to cover quite significant management when it comes to players that got injured at national team duty.
On to rugby, the Springboks are back in camp as they're prepared to defend their rugby championship crown. 37 players have been called up for the 2-week camp in Johannesburg, including 3 Junior World Cup winners. Key focus areas include sharpening the breakdown battle, solidifying goal kicking with Henry Pollard expected to play a big role, and integrating the young stars, Batobile Hlekani, Cheswell Euster and Hashim Peed. The Boks face Australia at Ellis Park on the 16th of August before heading to Cape Town for the second test. And finally, cricket. The spotlight is on the Proteas women ahead of Thursday's Cricket South Africa Awards at Empress Palace. Spinner Nonkululeko Mhlaba leads the pack with 5 nominations, including Women's Cricketer of the Year after her brilliant 10-wicket haul. Captain Laura Wolfart is also up for top honours following a stellar year with over 1,100 runs, and rising star Annery Dirksen and the veteran Marizanne Kapp complete the shortlist as the Proteas women are celebrated. That's a wrap. We'll have more sport. Swing back, top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, police say they are trying to track down more members of a firearms trafficking syndicate. This after they arrested 2 men in Meyersdal in southern Johannesburg yesterday. A former municipal manager of the Umzimkhulu municipality in KwaZulu-Natal is expected to appear in a local magistrate's court today. The 55-year-old man was arrested yesterday in connection with the murder of former ANC Youth League Secretary General Sindiso Makaka in 2017. And U.S. police have identified a gunman who killed 4 people in Manhattan, New York, as 27-year-old Shane Tamura from Las Vegas. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy coming out of Pretoria on the M1 South. There's a breakdown now before you get to the N4 Emma-Leflani split. So another busy day as you line up from Montana down through Storenfall towards that obstruction. The Bremer Street run into Dustport Tunnel stays very heavily backed up as well today. The N1 South from Old Joburg down to Olifantsfontein looking fairly heavy. A breakdown before Olifantsfontein getting in the way of that. A crash leaving Ekurhuleni at Boksburg. It's on the N12 by the R21. Traffic parking back to Atlas Road. And the Atlas Road Bridge is quite quite heavily backed as well. Durban through to Pietermaritzburg this morning. Always good to check. It's running fine at Cliffdale, running fine up at Ashburton as well. That's good news. There is a crash on the M13 at Gillett, so if you're coming out of Hillcrest towards Kloof, it's heavy. The old main road and the M13 both backed up to get through that scene this morning. And then Cape Town, a big crash on Hindle Road between Westbank Main and the R300 if you're going in or out of Blue Downs. That's really heavily backed up. And Marine Drive full of traffic today from Tableview to Milnerton, then Milnerton all the way through to Pardon Island. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Dowling, I refuse to believe your first story. So you will have to present conclusive evidence, okay?
Yes.
With it being rugby season, sporting season, I've seen jugs, people carrying jugs of beer. What are you saying when you tell me that Heineken has seen a decline in beer sales? Where? In South Africa?
Definitely not in South Africa, I can assure you that.
Okay, all right.
That
makes sense.
It makes sense, right? More in the US, they're also seeing a decline in Mexico as well as Brazil, right? So the world's second largest brewer is struggling in certain markets, saying the overall economic uncertainty has impacted spending and confidence in the US, Brazil, and Mexico, particularly affecting beer industry sales in Mexico due to a decline in remittance from the US. To be quite honest, I really just think they're struggling in terms of competition, and perhaps AB InBev has a greater competitive edge. So total beer sales came in at 14.2 billion euros in the second quarter from $14.8 billion. This, however, was slightly offset by strong performances in regions like Africa and Asia, and so organic operating profit increased by 7.4%. Earnings aside, while the Dutch brewer welcomed the recent trade deal between the EU and the US, it says it is still evaluating all options to mitigate the impact of tariffs on its business, including potentially shifting manufacturing. Heineken exports beer to the US from Europe and Mexico and has been affected by the indirect impact of tariffs on consumer confidence in key markets like Brazil. The group is still concerned about the trade deal with Mexico that still hasn't been reached as yet. Trump did threaten that country with tariffs of up to 30%. So they're playing a wait-and-see game on that front, hoping something is sealed before the 1st of August.
Yeah, no, it could not be in this country. Not that it's something that we should wear as a badge of honor. Binge drinking being problematic, of course, in our country. But have you seen those big jugs that people carry at events? It's crazy. It's just crazy. It's like, is it what, 2 liters or something at a time?
I hope they're getting not more than one.
So I was wrong, Dowling. I see that Valterra Platinum actually now rolls off the tongue. I'm getting used to it. Tell me about them and their report of plunging earnings.
So the miner opened its books and it's not pretty. One-off costs related to its demerger from Anglo American, totaling 1.4 billion rands, weighed on its bottom line. Additionally, Valterra faced operational challenges in the first half of the year due to heavy rains in Limpopo that forced a temporary shutdown at one of its mines in February. Although all mines have since resumed operations, the flooding had an impact on the company's performance. During the interim period, PGM production declined 12%, resulting in a 25% drop in PGM sales. This decline, combined with the demerger-related costs, led to an 81% decrease in earnings. Despite these challenges, though, CEO Craig Miller expressed optimism about the company's prospects, noting that these were just one-off costs. He also noted that the costs associated with the demerger have positioned the company well as an independent firm, with progress made in transitioning from Anglo's centralized services. And so the company has maintained its full-year production guidance. Cost-saving measures are expected to also boost output in the second half. And they're also positive because we have been seeing those rising platinum prices over the last few months, which it says will work in its favor moving forward.
All right, lastly, Dowling, how are the markets looking at this hour?
So trade jitters seem to have returned to the table, with investors now eyeing the outcome of the talks between China and the US. Some uncertainty in Asia on the back of that, with stocks in the red. The Hong Kong Hang Seng leading those losses, shedding over 1%. Over in Wall Street, traders gearing up for more Mag 7 earnings, with the likes of Meta and Microsoft out with numbers this week. We also have a Fed rates move. Ahead of that, futures are in positive territory. And then coming back home, some profit taking on the JSE, leading to a downbeat close in yesterday's session. The all share slipping 0.2%. The rand also seems to be caught up in the downbeat mood, on the back foot this morning. It's at 17.90 to the dollar. On the opposite side, the oil price seems to be holding steady, even though we are seeing some uncertainty return to the table. It is holding steady at $68 per barrel.
Dowling, thank you. Akere wa khotla ka 8:30 akere. All right. We'll talk to you then. That's Dowling Lichela. She'll be back. I was just making sure, okay? She'll be back just after 8:30 with another update for you.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yes, straight to your calls then. Let me start with Sipho out in Cape Town. Sipho wanting to reflect on some of the developments we are seeing at the moment in as far as law enforcement and criminality is concerned. And you've got a specific question on your mind this morning, Sipho. I believe it might be a rhetorical question. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Susan, and always great to have your show, man. We wake up early and you take us perfectly to work.
We appreciate that.
Yesterday, while listening to, obviously, Ashraf Garda's show, we had Ethel Choloff come on the show.
Yes.
And obviously speaking about the sort of, I think, the attempt that Action SA is trying to do some changes to the Constitution. But he then specifically spoke about his case with Paul O'Sullivan, the security specialist, and I'm going to call him specialist, I could have his term wrong, and the spat around him, and almost then got me thinking, and if you hear what the statement, if it's true to be believed, apparently he accuses Mkhwanazi of being a criminal and all of that.
Yes.
Then it got me thinking about the first time after the explosive interview that we that Lieutenant Mkhwanazi had. You had Mary de Haas come on your show.
Yes.
And she was quite scathing as well, saying, going as far as that Mkhwanazi is captured by the last minister, that the criminal syndicates were behind this explosive press conference. I would love to have you bring her back to the show, considering what has happened since then, where the truth behind these statements are going to be tested in the commission that we're seeing playing out now, and how the president has acted against Minister Mkhunu. And you know, these specialists that come on these shows and make such bold statements. I mean, she was very, very scathing for somebody who's respected in the industry. It just got me thinking around these security specialists and these specialists that almost have free reign to say whatever they want to say. And I mean, I was taken aback by that. I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, I hear you, Sipho, and I do remember the reaction at the time. And I like your approach, by the way, that now that some water has passed under that bridge, we may want to reinvite, especially Mary de Haas, for her reflections on what has been said. But I also like the fact that you're not entirely rubbishing her legacy and career, and you do acknowledge that she's well respected, having done work. Occasionally, people will say something and we don't agree with them. But I like the fact that you are saying that it would be nice to hear from her to say, okay, you were skeptical and doubtful and almost dismissive of the allegations, but here's what has happened since the allegations were made. Sipho, I appreciate that. Thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
All right, that's Sipho out in Cape Town there. Let me go to Mbuyisa out in KZN. Good morning to you. You want to talk to me about Justice Madlanga?
Yes, the commission, yes.
Hey, the man is trying to retire, but retirement eludes him. Immediately after retirement, he picks up another job. Tell me about the commission.
No, one wants to believe that, we are in a constitutional democracy and we are all equal before the eyes of the law. And it's very unfortunate, when we listen to the analysts, we listen to the media practitioners, taking an allegation as if it is the verdict or the judgment. And the onus is on people like you guys to educate us.
Absolutely.
In terms of how the process should unfold. Because, one day someone might wake up and say, so-and-so is a pedophile and something needs to be, action needs to be taken against him. We cannot run a country, or we cannot allow our country to be run through emotions. We must allow the due process of the law to be followed to the T. We all support what General Mkhwanazi has been doing, especially here in KwaZulu-Natal. But that doesn't mean that, he is beyond reproach. He should be interrogated just like all of us.
Sure.
And if whatever that he's making as an allegation, he can be proven, that so be it. But let's listen to those people who allegations are being made against. We cannot allow that to happen. I'll just make one example in just a minute. There is a popular TV anchor for one of the private stations. Early this year, there was an allegation of something happening, on the road, between him and the lady. That station suspended that anchor for up until everything was investigated, and he's back on air today.
Okay. Yeah.
Imagine if the young boy was fired because of that allegation.
Gotcha. Buisa, thank you for that. I think that's sober and sensible, the approach that you are calling for all of us to, what do they say about the truth? That it doesn't need you to defend it. It's like a lion. A caged lion. Just open the cage and let the truth defend itself. Just that approach that says, let's allow due process and not run. I like what you said about not running the country on emotions. Good morning to you, Mokoena, out in the Northwest. And you want to talk to me about political killings and these arrests?
Senior Councillor, good morning.
No, not Senior Councillor at all.
Then,
don't want to fall into it.
I was saying to myself, if you are the Senior Councillor, because some we had to find out during the Famine Commission.
How
they were
yes,
to be senior councillor.
I remember that,
so,
yeah.
Yes, if you will also do an inquiry of commission to find out.
You see now, that's the thing I don't want to Mokoena. In years from now I must be explaining. And you allowed people to call you Senior Counsel, and you said nothing. Please go ahead on this issue.
I will need the legal research you say and the legal research methodology modules from you. Good morning, Thulasizwe. Let's applaud the men in blue uniform. I think the police intelligence are doing a fantastic job. I think with the work that they are putting in and the arrests which have been made, it makes you to be pleased and to be happy to live in a South Africa where you have a hope that one of the good days will live into a country which is free of crime. But in as much as that is happening, they also need to put emphasis into those crimes which are not of a high profile. Because what I saw one young lady, the mother came to me, we're complaining about the fact that they once laid a claim of rape for the child who's 13 years old, and the case has not been resolved even today. And that happened in 2018. So in as much as we applaud them, we also want to make sure that they put emphasis into those smaller cases which is not of high profile and such.
100%.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mokoena. That's Mokoena out in the Northwest. Thank you for that. Consistency is what he is calling for. And while Mokoena was talking, it got me thinking, the amount of activity that has been carried out by the political killings task team post the letter that was disbanding them on the 31st of December 2024. It got me thinking, I wonder, what do they call it? A counterfactual, where you imagine what is and you imagine it not being. The counterfactual where the political killings task team did indeed cease to exist upon that letter being written by Minister Senzo Mchunu. I wonder, and I'm not saying that some of the arrests would not have happened. I'm just wondering if they would have happened. Some of the action that we have seen, including this latest arrest in relation to the Sindiso Makaka matter. It's the counterfactual in my mind. I wonder what you think on your side. JCK in Mosina, good morning.
Morning, Thulas. Are you well?
Very well. How are you?
I'm well. Thulas, I don't buy into what former Chief Justice Zondo said about the swearing in. He's equal guilty. He must be charged as well. He did something wrong, of which he knows it was wrong. And he swear in the people who have got dark clouds. It tells you that Judge President Zondo, it was appeasing the President Ramaphosa because of giving him that job, Chief President, Judicial, you see. So he must be charged. He's not clean. I mean, his conscience should have told him, hey, I'm doing wrong. He said, Mr. President, hey, not me. Just call somebody to say in these people. Or why not?
I don't know, JCK. I don't know where I sit. I get the point. I get the questions you are asking, and you're not the only one. I was listening to Kethe Mohlahlana yesterday and listening to the show, and I was hearing quite a number of people raising that point. But where I'm stuck is at, did he really have a choice? This part of the package of being Chief Justice, and trying to dictate to the president who to appoint and who not to appoint would have been seen as straddling lanes and actually violating that separation of powers. You deep down you don't like it, but this is my job to administer the oath of office after this guy has decided to appoint these people in line with his powers.
Yeah, before I sign off, Thulas, I would like to give you assignment to read. Just find out for us, why is President Ramaphosa overlooking Mkhweng? Why is he overlooking him?
In terms of?
In terms of this, why didn't he call this inquiry coming?
This commission of inquiry.
Inquiry. Why?
Gotcha.
Why?
Gotcha. All right.
You remember before I sign off, remember Mkhweng said something about capture judiciary.
Yes.
You remember that story?
Yes, I do remember that.
Okay, let me sign off. Thanks,
JCK, thank you for that. JCK in Musina there. Mncedisi, very quickly, out in Honeydew. Talk to me about police taking cars to private residences. What's that about?
Ngoni.
Bab.
Yeah, last night I was in Protea, just home there, just down in Soweto.
Yes.
And to my surprise, when I get to the police station, just going to certify some of my certificates, I found people there waiting, some of women and ladies there and young guys there. Mm-hmm. They say, Aguna transport. And then just on my street here, four streets from away from me, there is this senior police officer who comes from home with a bikie, branded bikie, police bikie, and during the weekend, he takes the car from Friday until Monday when he goes to work. And then we don't understand what kind of system is this, and it's disturbing. Call him from and come and explain to us. These guys are earning money, they should buy their own cars.
Yeah.
And we cannot wait for them while they are transporting each other for the whole night and day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tula.
So wait, Mncedisi, before you go, the question that you are pondering, actually, coincidentally, it once troubled me as well. There was a neighbor who was a police officer, Johannesburg. In fact, there is still a neighbor. That neighbor is still there.
Absolutely.
A member of JMPD. And I raised this question, I think about 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
Absolutely.
Thereabouts.
Absolutely.
So let me share with you what the explanation was, because it troubled me enough that I reached out to JMPD.
No, we are not, Tula,
yes.
We are not going to explain something that is 2 years ago. We want now.
Okay.
We want now. Yeah.
All right. So the explanation, at least from the JMPD, through Wayne Minar at the time, was that when police officers are on standby, at least JMPD, I don't know what the policy is with SAPS, they are allowed to take the service vehicles home for ease of responding. So I think the scenario that he gave me was that imagine if this person is at home in their own car and then we need them to respond to a situation. First, they have to drive to the police station to sign documents and pick up a car and then rush over to. So it's that. And I was seeing this neighbor almost every second weekend, every other day, they have the car with them and they park it in the yard. That was the explanation. And I think maybe Xolani Fihla may call in and just clarify if I'm getting that right. And perhaps someone else, Athlenda Mate or anyone from the SAPS, may be able to explain some of these issues.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A couple of crashes getting in the way of Gauteng motorists this morning. One on the N12 between Rotherbolt Road and the R21. So coming through from Benoni through Boksburg, there is quite a heavy backlog to work through there. A crash on the N1 going north up by Buccleuch. So once you get past Rivonia, that all gets heavy. And a collision on Main Road at Sloane. So coming in from Lone Hill towards Bryanston. Expect some extra delays there. Pretoria easing up this morning. It was really heavy at Dustport Tunnel both ways. It still is. It's heavy rather than really heavy. If you're coming off the Mopani Highway onto Bremer into the tunnel, it's just slow go. The N4 from Watermeyer Street heading towards the M1 direction Hatfield, if you like, fairly sluggish as well. Power supply problems around central Durban. It looks really busy this morning around sort of Morningside and Springfield Essenwood. So it looks like a lot of traffic lights are potentially out that side. Durban's M13 coming from Hillcrest to Kloof being held up by a crash at Gillett's. The M13's heavy, so Old Main Road as you come out of Hillcrest, very heavy to get into that M13 as well. Heavy pressure into Cape Town Stellenbosch area, particularly Adam Tuss and the R44, or sort of Adam Tuss coming off Baden Powell and the R44 arriving from Somerset West, both heavy, and a crash on the M1 inbound at Sable Road, pushing traffic back to Plattekloof Hill. Behind that, your routes like Montevista Boulevard, Hill, Besson, and particularly the N7 and North getting up and into that N1 backlog. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Tani Esther, or should I say the Tupperware Tani? How's business going?
Business is booming. I've been operating out of the boot of my car for 10 years, but shame, it couldn't keep up with my growing empire.
Okay, so you sold it to We Buy Cars?
Yes, quick. Sold my old one, bought a bigger one. I even sold some of my Tupperware to the friendly guy who picked up my car.
Stick to what you know best, Tani?
Excuse me?
Never mind. We Buy Cars. Geared for your business, geared for you.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
All right, you're listening to the morning brief here on SAFM 104 to 107. I want to take a few more of your voice notes now. A lot of them coming in that have to do with some of the issues that we've covered this morning. Someone wants to talk about Judge Parker, and I'm wondering what that is all about. All right, let me see if I can sort out what that is, that situation is all about before I go on to take that voice note. Lots of comments about the Commission of Inquiry, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, but also I've been seeing some comments being made by people about that conversation about, I think it was Mncedisi that raised it in the last few minutes, about police officers taking vehicles home, people sharing their own experiences of how that impacts on availability of vehicles at police stations. I will reflect on those here and there. Let me take this one on Judge Parker first.
Good morning, Thulasizwe and the listeners. This is Nati from Cape Town. Thulas, man, I'm sure maybe I'm late or what. I haven't heard anything about Judge Parker being like found guilty on or what was held here in Cape Town. You remember that's the guy who accused Judge Kloppe about assaulting him. But the media seems to be quiet about it. We had to dig deep to find the story. What's up with it? Thank you.
I remember that story. Would have to just go back to it. To be honest, I've not followed it closely. There were a number of JSC complaints at the time or shortly thereafter that were, coming up against the then Judge President, John Kloppe. And you'll know that part of it has been subject to a complaint to the JSC against former Chief Justice Mogoeng, but we just heard, I think, in the last few days that won't be taken up by the JSC. But I don't want to venture an opinion until I've done some research on what has transpired, in particular in relation to that specific complaint that you're talking about.
Good morning, Bratulas. This is Mbongo Sondisa. Bratulas, yeah, I would like to congratulate the parliament. You see, these positions of deputy minister, it's not warranted, but there's no need to have deputy ministers. Imagine even if, let's say, the minister is in US or Europe, they don't say okay, the deputy minister for the time being will be acting as a minister. It's just a waste of money. So thank you very much, man. Remove this deputy minister position. It's not needed at all. There's no use for it. That's the waste of money. Thank you. Bye.
All right, Mbongo, thank you for that. And I think the Action SA will be happy to hear you say that. There's a quirk in the Constitution that says the president, when he needs to appoint an acting minister, it has to be from among the members of the cabinet. And the deputy ministers are not members of cabinet. So for that deputy minister to act, they almost have to be sworn in as a cabinet member for them to act. There is a quirk, definitely. That is definitely a quirk. That's why people keep pointing to it. And I don't know, I've been wondering what that is all about. Was it meant to be, the position of deputy minister was meant to be almost like, I don't know, a pipeline for the executive? So it's grooming and exposure meant for younger people that are not necessarily ready to step up. Was it framed at a time when it could not have been thought that you would have people who've been deputy ministers for a long period of time who are veteran DMs, where you now wonder, this person is so experienced, why can't they just step up and actually act in the absence of the minister? So Action SA is raising that issue and raising it quite sharply to say this position of deputy minister must be done away with. Let me read, I want to read one or two messages that have come through on the issue of police officers. Someone here says, even City of Cape Town Metro Police take the cars home, so it's a normal thing to do. Eskom workers on standby take the car home as well. I do not even know why this should be an issue. And I get the point you are making, but I think there's an issue within the SAPS that is peculiar to the SAPS, the issue of availability of vehicles. So people see a car parked at the home of an officer and they get to the police station and they're told that we don't have vehicles. And I think that's the context in which that question then arises. But that practice, you are absolutely right. Even here at the SABC, many moons ago, when I was much younger, with long dreadlocks and the likes, when I would be on standby, I would get to keep the vehicle with me so that there's rapidness in terms of responding to breaking news. Someone else here says, even in Limpopo, they pick up and drop each other at home using SAPS vans while people are calling in to report crime, and they will be told there is no van to come to crime scenes. So that really is the essence of the complaint, isn't it? That when that is happening, that practice that is normal in all areas where you are required to be on standby, that you have the vehicle, is that being done at the expense of the responsiveness to day-to-day policing issues? That is the heart, that is the nub of the issue around this matter of police officers taking vehicles home. 8 a.m. and Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, police probe gun trafficking syndicate and former municipal manager arrested for Magaqa's murder to appear in court. Good morning. Police say they are trying to track down more members of a firearms trafficking syndicate. This after they arrested 2 men in Meyersdal in southern Johannesburg yesterday. The men were allegedly about to traffic 30 unlicensed firearms to the Western Cape. Both suspects are linked to various other cases in Gauteng and in the Western Cape. The National Police spokesperson, Ethlinda Mate.
The arrest of the 34 and 45-year-old suspects follows several days of surveillance and information gathering across provinces by the SAPS anti-kidnapping task team, where suspects involved in the moving of unlicensed firearms were identified. As suspects collected the firearms, the team moved in for a coordinated tactical takedown in Meyersdal. The suspects were found with 39mm unlicensed firearms. Further investigation confirms their weapons were destined for the Western Cape, and the suspects intended to transport the unlicensed firearms themselves.
A former municipal manager of the Umzimkhulu municipality in KwaZulu-Natal is expected to appear in a local magistrate's court today. The 55-year-old man was arrested yesterday in connection with the murder of former ANC Youth League Secretary-General Sindiso Makaka in 2017. Makaka was a councillor in the municipality when gunmen opened fire on the vehicle he was travelling in. Last month, the gunman Sibusiso Ngengwa pleaded guilty in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg. Athlenda Mate is the National Police spokesperson.
The former municipal manager of the Umzimkhulu local municipality was arrested in Malvern. He was previously arrested in 2018 alongside the late mayor of the Umzimkhulu local municipality, a businessman, 2 former police officers and a hitman.
2 people are expected to appear in the Muizenberg Magistrates Court in the Western Cape today after being arrested in connection with 2 murders in the area. This follows the killing of a police officer and a taxi owner in May this year. The suspects are facing murder charges. Police spokesperson FC Van Wyk says further arrests are imminent as investigations continue. Police in KwaZulu-Natal are appealing to the public for assistance in tracking down a man suspected of committing a double murder. 20-year-old Zitembe Mzulwini was arrested in January for the unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition. He allegedly shot and killed 2 siblings at their home in Folweni in southern Durban in April this year while he was out on bail. Provincial Police spokesperson Thenjiswa Ngcobo.
A warrant of his arrest was issued by the Ntsimbini Magistrate Court on the 5th of May 2025. Police are appealing to anyone who might have information about the whereabouts of Zitembe to contact Detective Constable Kuzwayo on 08233483323 or make use of the Crime Stop number 086001011.
Further afield and finally, U.S. police have identified a gunman who killed 4 people in Manhattan in New York as 27-year-old Shane Tamura from Las Vegas. He entered an office building and shot several people, including an off-duty police officer, before taking his own life yesterday. 1 person was critically wounded. At a news conference, the New York Police Commissioner, Jessica Tisch, explains how the attack began.
Surveillance video shows a male exit a double-parked black BMW, carrying an M4 rifle in his right hand. He walks towards the building's entrance. The building's security camera footage shows the shooter enter the lobby, turn right, and immediately open fire on an NYPD officer. He then shoots a woman who took cover behind a pillar and proceeds through the lobby, spraying it with gunfire.
Recapping the top story, police say they are trying to track down more members of a firearms trafficking syndicate. This after they arrested 2 men in Meyersdal and southern Johannesburg yesterday. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
If you want to save on your car insurance premium, you call OutSurance, right? But what if you don't save? Well, they'll give you cash just for trying. You heard right. Just ask for 500 Rand cash. But wait, there's more. If you don't save and have been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years, you can ask them for 1,500 Rand cash. Savings or cash, you always get something out.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP, TCs and information online.
OutSurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports Headlines, rugby. We've got the Springboks set to face the Harden Wallabies in the Rugby Championship opener, and we're building up to that, as well as Live Golf coming to South Africa for the first time, with Stain City in Johannesburg set to host the inaugural tournament. We'll bring you all the details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We take you into Centurion, Irene area, Main and Nelmapi is a crash there, causing very heavy backlogs on all approaches. Joburg's N3 running up from Alex in towards Buccleuch. Another crash this morning. It's the second one that we've had. So passing the Limbo Park area, very slow. Collision on Main Road into Bryson at Sloane Street, causing quite a delay coming through from the Lone Hill side as well. Now, if you're leaving Hillcrest on your way to Kloof, an earlier crash just by Gillett, it's causing delays both ways now. So the old Main Road down to the M13 and the M13 to Gillett on your way to Kloof heavy, but also arriving into Hillcrest from the Kloof side under a bit of pressure as well. Queuing both ways on the N2 into Spaghetti Junction, north and southbound under pressure there. Cape Town crash, N1 into town at Sable Road in front of Century City. That's pushing N1 traffic back as far as Plattekloof Hill, also causing big delays getting in on the N7. The N7 queuing both ways to get off that highway and to turn into that N1. And Marine Drive, very busy today. Tableview to Milnerton, Milnerton to Pardon Island. Two big queues to work through. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8 minutes after 8 on this Tuesday, we are into the second hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM, and the conversation is sparkling. You can be a part of it, and the number to dial in order to do exactly that is 086 000 2032, or you can send me a WhatsApp voice note on 061 410 4107. I want to reflect on some of the messages that you've been sending on that exact WhatsApp line that have to do with a number of the issues that we've covered this morning. This person says the commission, that is the Madlanga Commission, the commission must probe all government departments, local to national governments, any allegation about the civil personnel, including Palapala, Mantashe's son, Kumbudzo, and all CR17 fund managers and activists. Probe more on drug cartels and their handlers. We were wondering why police can't save our kids who are dying of nyaupe or drugs. Ganti, ANC is enabling that. A drug mafia captured the ANC, says this particular person. Let me go to the next one, who wants to reflect on what was said earlier on about inviting Professor Mary de Haas back to reflect on her thinking about the allegations that were made by the KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, now that some water has passed under the bridge in as far as those allegations are concerned. So alluding to the arrests, such as in the matter of DJ Somebody and all the other characters, the names that you and I, many of us didn't know 6 weeks ago, but have become names that have come to infamy in recent days. So this person was suggesting we need to get Professor Mary de Haas to come back and reflect whether or not she still holds the views that she held at the time when the allegations were first made. And this person says, analysts make a mistake when they become emotionally attached to the story. That really is the long and short of that comment. And then let me just take this one from X-Men in Gqeberha, who's responding to that listener who was saying that we can't run the country on emotions. We must allow allegations to be tested and allow due process to play itself out. This person, X-Men in Gqeberha, says, we are equal before the law. This is the case even in rape cases, and we are 1,000,000% against rape. Emotions will bring our country down, says X-Men out in Gqeberha. And so on it goes. I really do appreciate these engagements. As I said, do give me a call, 086 000 2032, or WhatsApp voice notes and messages on 061 410 4107. Let's get into the third hour of the morning brief.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
OUTsurance made it possible for us to travel more with the money that we save. 725. This is really real.
You are the biggest saver we've ever had.
2,794 Rand a month. It was the easiest switch ever. Get real.
How is it that OUTsurance provided the solution for you?
918 Rand is what I'm saving.
Incredible.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands.
Just phone OUTsurance, get a quote and see what they can offer you. If you don't save that 321 like I did, you might say get a 500 or $1,000 back. Service and savings, you'll always get something out.
So what was the real deal they could offer you?
870.
That's amazing. What brought you and OUTsurance together?
718 Rand. I end up saving.
They gave you the real deal.
It literally is the real deal.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and information online.
Spar brings you super savings. Get 2 litre Sunflower cooking oil for $64.99 plus 150 megs free data on Spar Mobile. 700 ml all gold tomato sauce for $32.99 plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 400 gram baked beans and tomato sauce, 2 for 30 Rand plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Plus win your share of 6 million Rand in instant cash. Price is valid until 6 August while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Get ready, Mzansi. Powerball has rolled over to a massive 100 million Rand guaranteed jackpot this Tuesday. You heard right. Play Powerball for the guaranteed 100 million Rand jackpot today, and you could hit it lucky. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
All right, let's take you to that story now that I was telling you about a bit earlier on. The Constitutional Court will on Wednesday hear a high-stakes and politically charged urgent application brought by the Thulasizwe Party and its leader, former President Jacob Zuma. The case pits them against President Cyril Ramaphosa over his decision to place Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on special leave of absence, whatever you want to call it, and appoint Firoz Kachalia as acting minister. At the heart of the dispute are complex questions around jurisprudential and presidential powers, in particular, constitutional legality as well as political accountability. Let's speak to Ntlamulo Ndlela, who speaks on behalf of the MK party. Good morning to you, Ntlamulo. I was saying that you are attacking this on 3 fronts, these issues. Let's start with the one on the Commission of Inquiry that has been appointed by the President. Why is that decision problematic for you and stands to be struck down?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to the listeners. Look, we have got an issue with a Judicial Commission of Inquiry, and the reason for that is if you refer back to the General Mkhwanazi's comments, he states there categorically that the judiciary itself is complicit and implicated in some of his findings, some of these investigations. So that alone, does erode public trust in terms of who will then preside over this Judicial Commission of Inquiry. You can have a Commission of Inquiry, but the mere fact that it's also called and referred to, and he's instituting a commission, a Judicial Commission of Inquiry, that alone raises an issue, which is one thing that we will obviously raise in court.
None of that is placated by the fact that he's appointing a well-respected, highly regarded constitutional jurist who is going into retirement and has no direct interest in any matters going forward.
Well, let's also remember that we had a highly respected former judge Simelane, who presided over Section 89 independent panel report, of whose outcome stated categorically there's a case, a prima facie case here, and that there is contraventions on PRECA. Now, have we seen the president being held accountable to that? No. Any recommendations that come from a judicial or a commission of inquiry are just third-factor documents that don't hold the president accountable. Nothing is ever binding. So this, to us, is nothing more than, quite honestly, a political laundromat for the ANC and the government, and if the president is implicated himself, for them to, in effect, clean up their mess. So we're saying South Africans cannot wait. Why is it that we have to wait for 3 to 6 months before, when we know very well that General Mkhwanazi's process of the political killings task team, these investigations have yielded 436 arrests and 436 charges. We've seen even after that what has happened where Kenny Kunene is found implicated and associated, when again, General Mkhwanazi stated categorically again that there's been politicians and parliamentarians that are implicit and complicit in this. So we're saying that we're calling that Mkhwanazi must go ahead and arrest. The political killings task team is effective.
How will you overcome, just on this question of a commission of inquiry, how will you overcome the effect of these powers being provided for in terms of the powers of the president in the Constitution as well as the Commissions Act, that these are powers that he does have? Whatever our reservations about effectiveness, popularity of commissions of inquiry, he has the powers to do that.
No, we're not questioning the president's powers or the powers of the president. The powers of the president are enshrined in the Constitution. It's the question of when is there constitutional delinquency in terms of how those powers are applied, and this is the one issue that, in effect, we're going to be raising in court. But again, neither yourself or myself are legal eagles, and neither will we at this point give away what our strategy would be.
Right. Then tell me about the other two pillars of your attack. Tell me about why you are taking issue with Senzo Mchunu being put on leave of absence.
Well, the president has got the powers to, appoint and disappoint. And in this case, we're saying that the Mchunu was not appointed as per, the LRA. There was no advert that said, we're looking for a police minister. No, we're saying that, firstly, the president, in terms of Section 98 of the Constitution, has got, it says there categorically that if he has removed the minister, for instance, and he needs to replace that minister, he then ought to leverage from within cabinet and appoint someone on a temporary basis from an existing cabinet minister. Now, his misreading of and how he's applying, again, unconstitutionally so, 91.3 and 92 is incorrect. And is actually applying that in the absence of what I've just read out now, which is Section 98. So we're obviously going to argue that you can't have, because right now what we have, Thulasizwe, in the next day or two, we're going to be literally, as it is, we actually have 3 different ministers. We've got Senzo Mchunu who's going to be sitting at home, enjoying the blue lights, enjoying the perks, the flights, enjoying the state houses, and at the expense of South Africans for what? Yeah. And then you currently have, which is, he is appointed as per Section 98 of the Constitution, Agwede Mantashe. And even those characters like Agwede Mantashe, as to why he's put that person to preside over police, we know there's something even more serious when it comes to Richards Bay. But again, we'll get to that point at a later stage. Now, and then you've got a Feroz Kwachalia, who is also incoming. So you've got, it's a banana republic, to be honest, where you have a police ministry being presided over by 3 different ministers. No.
So just lastly, on the and this is a point I raised with Dr. Mtanti from your party when I spoke to him a few days ago, that as far as Feroz Kwachalia is concerned, him being from outside of cabinet, that may be, and I suggest to you, Ntlamulo, that may be an easier obstacle to overcome. And I was saying that the president could simply appoint him as minister in the presidency without portfolio. That puts him in cabinet, in the cabinet realm, for the purposes of then saying, I now assign the powers of the police ministry to you in an acting capacity. Do you not expect that you'll be asked to address that?
Well, we're aware that that's a question that would be coming, but I can't disclose what our approach is now.
Okay. I get you. All right. Thank you for that. That's Ntlamulo Ndlela. He speaks on behalf of the MK party.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, Think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
We plan for vacations, retirement, and even tonight's dinner. But do we plan for our health? It's how we protect our family's future. So who are you staying healthy for? And how can you protect their future? Choose Dis-Chem Life, the life cover that helps you live a healthier, more rewarding life with health checks and extra rewards. Visit dischemlife.co.za now. Dis-Chem Life. Choose a better partner for life. Dis-Chem Life is an authorized FSP 50594, underwritten by Guardrisk Life, a licensed life insurer FSP 76. T's and C's apply.
James, congrats on the babies.
Yeah, thanks. It's a wild ride.
You're a new dad, 2 babies, 0 sleep, and 1 car that apparently couldn't cope.
Yeah, the hatchback was my baby, but it just didn't have enough space for my 2 new babies.
And are you happy with the price when you sold to We Buy Cars?
Very. We've even got some extra cash to splurge on one of those fancy prams that you basically need a license for.
Good luck, James. We Buy Cars. Geared for family, geared for you.
Get ready, Mzansi. Powerball has rolled over to a massive 100 million rand guaranteed jackpot this Tuesday. You heard right. Play Powerball for the guaranteed 100 million rand jackpot today, and you could hit it lucky. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, the cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
To this now, the highly anticipated trial of 6 men accused in one of the country's most brutal mass killings has gotten underway before the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court, sitting specially at the Lusigisigi Magistrates Court. The accused face multiple charges stemming from the September 2024 massacre that claimed 18 lives in Ngobozana village in Lusigisigi. Let's speak to Nomzwanele Mngoma, SABC News reporter, who has been tracking that story. Nomzwanele, good morning and thank you for your time this morning. Just give us a sense of how this is playing itself out. I caught bits and pieces of it on TV. It's sitting specially is the High Court at the Magistrates Court in Lusigisigi. Paint the picture for us, the anticipation from the community as well as the scenes inside court.
Greetings to you and to the listeners at home. Well, what is happening, or what happened yesterday inside the court, it was a bit concerning to the families in terms of the duration of the trial. As you remember, that it is set to be to take place for 8 weeks. But because the first suspect in this case, who is Mzukisi Ndamase, wanted to represent himself, and to remember that this person is not trained legally, so the judge will have to hold his hand and ensure that he understands everything that is being done inside the court. He understands all the documents that he's given, and he also assists him in terms of phrasing his questions, or making sure that what he's saying is understood, even the questions or everything that is being said inside the court. So that is one of the concerns that were raised by the family members. And for example, yesterday, the court was using a certain document, but he had a different document in his hand, and he thought that he did not have that indictment form that was being used at that particular time, only to be told that he do have the document, but because it does not understand the documents or the legal proceedings or language. So it is a bit of a challenge for him. So those are some of the issues that were raised or concerning to the families. And we also had another example for Mr. Ndamase was when he was given a document or the submissions made by the NPA. He needed more time to go back and read the document and ensure that he is ready. And the court asked him the time that he needs to make sure that when he comes back, he is ready to proceed with a trial. But fortunately, he said that today is fine. The trial can continue, and I'm thinking that is because the document was only 7 pages. So at least in this case, it was a small document that was given to him. And another interesting thing was that as all suspects pleaded not guilty, there was the 5th suspect, which is the Songezo who said that as he was not pleading guilty, he said everything he did it forcefully. So we are still hoping to hear as to what is it that he was forced to do and who forced him into doing that. So that is another thing that gave the family members a hope of that maybe someone might lead them into the right direction or into the right person, or he might say that confess as to who forced him into doing what he claims that he was forced into doing. So today we are expecting the trial to continue. And yesterday, as before, the communities around Lusiki-Suki used to come here, but they were not accommodated inside the court, so they used to stay outside the premises of the court. So yesterday, it was a very small number of residents outside the court.
All right, thank you for that, Nomzwanele Ngoma, SABC News reporter, watching that trial out of the Eastern Cape and painting a picture already of what is likely to be quite a complex court case, with one of the accused choosing to represent himself, and also, as you heard from Nomzwanele there, one of the other accused raising what appears to me to be a defense that actually they acted under compulsion. They did not participate voluntarily in whatever the crime is that is alleged with regard to them. So we'll get more updates for you as the trial progresses.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you, Zai. So it's the Boks versus the Wallabies. Who's hardened? We are battle hardened.
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
We've got scars.
Hey, and we eat wallabies for breakfast.
You know what I mean? What is a wallaby anyway?
It's some kangaroo-looking thing, I would imagine.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, just 2 weeks now to go before the Rugby Championship, and there's some questions, though, whether Rassie Erasmus Springboks will be ready after a low-key warm-up matches that they've had against Italy and Georgia. In contrast, Australia, they seem to say that they are battle-hardened from their brutal Lions series, and they've got major improvement under their new coach, Joe Schmidt. Now, Coach Rassie Erasmus, he's rotated nearly 40 players in the recent weeks, but says the experienced core can still hit the ground running. The Boks opened their campaign against the Wallabies at Ellis Park on the 16th of August with a likely lineup featuring Damian Willemse, Cheslin Colby, Sia Kolisi and Eben Etzebeth. Now, SAFA Chief Medical Officer Dr. Thulani Ngwenya confirming that the association will carry the costs of getting Gabriela Salgado back on her feet after a horrific injury in her WAFCON semi-final defeat to Nigeria. She broke her leg in the 83rd minute. While confident that she can recover from the setback and play football again, the medic says it's important for players to remain disciplined.
Well, the rehab is a team effort. It needs a sports physician, it needs a physiotherapist, it needs a biokineticist or a sports scientist, it needs a psychologist and a nutritionist. So it's a collective team that we'll have to put together and make sure that the rehabilitation process goes through smoothly. But it's a collective effort. It requires all these other subspecialties in sports and exercise medicine.
And let's go to cycling, where the Dutch rider Lorena Webbs outsprinted Marianne Vos to win a chaotic Stage 3 of the Tour de France Femmes, although Vos' second place saw her regain the yellow jersey. And finally, Live Golf coming to South Africa for the first time. Steyn City will be hosting it. This is the inaugural event from the 20th to the 26th of March 2026. Over 10,000 tickets snapped up in the first 24 hours. Fans gearing up to watch Stinger GC's all South African lineup led by Louis Oosthuizen. He'll battle it out alongside global stars like Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka and Phil Mickelson. Early bird passes start at 2,193 with kids under 12 free. And that's it for now. We'll be free till 12:30 with John Herika will bring you more sport. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the DA is opposed to the possible sale or lease of the Pretoria City Hall to the Iranian embassy. This follows reports that the city of Tshwane received a letter from the embassy expressing interest to acquire a municipal building or land for the establishment of a cultural centre. Police say they are trying to track down more members of a firearms trafficking syndicate. This after they arrested 2 men in Meyersdal in southern Johannesburg yesterday. And the former Colombian President Alvaro Uribe has been found guilty of witness tampering. This relates to a case in which he was accused of colluding with right-wing paramilitary groups when he was in power. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A couple of crashes on busy routes holding up into Sandton in Joburg today. William Mandela Republic, there's a crash there. So coming from Bryson or coming out of Randburg, Ferndale, both of those routes under pressure. Also a collision on Catherine at Vrena Road East. So coming from Barlow Park area down on Catherine over Greyston and into Sandton. That's heavy. Greyston Drive coming off the highway, likely to be impacted by that traffic slowdown on Catherine Street. Also some lights out if you're Sandton bound on Ballyclare at Coleraine. So additional delays that way as well. Another crash. This is crash number 3 this morning on the N3 going north at Buccleuch. So again, traffic parking back through towards the Alexandra area. N1 through Midrand, still fairly busy. Going to sit in traffic from Old Joburg Road down to about the New Road exit before you're out of that one. Pretoria is easing up nicely. Durban, N2 going south, heavy from Inanda Road down to Spaghetti Junction. On your way there, you'll go through the roadworks, past the crash scene and past a stationary vehicle. So it's the whole bank shoot down there this morning. Very heavy N2 into Spaghetti Junction. Crash between Hillcrest and Kloof, holding things up on the M13 both ways. Also holding up on Old Main Road coming out of Hillcrest to get into that M13. And Cape Town, a crash on the N1 into town at Sable Road. That's a heavy queue coming through from Belleville. Behind that, the N7 heavily backed up south from Plattercliff, north from Goodwood, trying to get off the N7 and into that N1 traffic. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Here for us one more time is Ndauling Lichela. Ndauling, let's start with news out of the mining sector. Tell me about the expectations for record high coal production.
Now, this is according to a report by the International Energy Agency, which has forecast that global coal production will reach a record high of 9.2 billion tons this year, driven by strong demand for fossil fuels. This growth is expected despite the world's efforts to transition to cleaner energy sources, highlighting the challenges in reducing reliance on coal. Now, last year, global coal demand rose by 1.5% to a record 8.79 billion tons, defying expectations that environmental policies and investments in renewable energy would curb its use. In SA, coal accounts for over 70% of energy demand, employs nearly 100,000 people, and generates substantial revenue. But the country's long-term plans include phasing out 22 gigawatts of coal power over the next decade under the Integrated Resource Plan. While this transition poses risk for coal workers who may struggle to transfer their skills to other sectors, the IEA predicts that global demand for coal will remain strong in the short term, providing some sort of economic support.
Yeah, it's such an interesting debate, that the story of coal and its role in continued energy generation around the world. Never has a product, well, let me not say never, you hardly see a product so disavowed by so many, but yet continues to survive, and it looks like it's going nowhere.
Yep. I mean, I was talking to the CEO of Thungela Resources, one of the biggest coal players in the country, and he said, he's like, production's upbeat, They're selling more coal than ever, so it doesn't seem like phasing out any time soon.
It's like one of those things, to take it a step further, when Ntauling, where we all do it, but no one wants to admit that we all do it. We all do this cold thing, but all of us want to talk. No, we don't do it. Tell me about South Africa securing a loan from Germany. My goodness, do we owe so many people?
Hey, Thulas, I didn't want to mention that. I didn't want to mention that, but this is in that context of energy, right? So the loan that was secured is worth 10.4 billion rands. It's from Germany to support the country's transition away from fossil fuels. Now, the loan provided by the German Society for International Cooperation through state-owned lender KfW has a 13-year term with a 3-year grace period and a fixed interest rate of 4.31%. This agreement builds on previous loans and is part of Germany's commitment to support SA's efforts to reduce its reliance on coal and transition to cleaner energy resources. The loan is also part of the Just Energy Transition Partnership, a climate finance agreement signed in 2021 with several nations. Now, there were some concerns about the partnership after the US pulled out, but the likes of the UK and Germany have affirmed their commitment to it. South Africa's heavy reliance on coal for electricity generation, of course, makes it one of the most carbon-intensive economies among the G20 countries. Now, commenting on the move, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says the loan aims to strengthen SA's energy security and promote decarbonization.
Ai Shem, dikoloto tsa rena di dintsi. Shem. How are the markets looking, and what kind of a trading day can we expect?
The local market's likely to open mixed, with investors playing a wait-and-see game when it comes to riskier assets. Looking at company news, results out from miner Kumba Iron Ore and a trading update from retailer Boxer will be keeping traders busy today. Meanwhile, in currency markets, a stronger dollar weighing on the rand this morning. It is trading at 17.89 to the greenback. Oil prices in the meantime remain stable at $68 per barrel. And then over in the US, futures are in positive territory. Investors looking out for tech earnings with Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon under the spotlight this week. Then lastly, in Asia, trade remains choppy with markets mostly in the red as investors await the outcome of US-China talks before making any big bets on equities.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ntauling Lechela with the last update of the morning. She's kept you updated on all things to do with the economy, business, and the markets.
Kathy Motlatlana on SAFM.
Often the existence of helplines is publicized, whether people are listening to radio, but often we don't know what the work of these helplines is until we have to engage with them.
In terms of our helpline, for instance, we receive on average between 4,000 to almost 6,000 calls per annum. Predominantly women who are calling from across the provinces, who are calling to ask for assistance. In terms of the assistance people are calling for, sometimes it's just to get information. I'm being abused, or I think I'm in an abusive relationship. What should I do? Others are calling to say, I want to escape. I'm looking for a place of safety. Where can I go?
Diane Masawe, who is a member of the board for the National Shelter Movement of South Africa.
If you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen, and nothing is off the agenda.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yeah, let me take one or two voice notes. Someone wants to reflect on this issue of the caller who was saying that emotions aside, we can't run the country on emotions. We should allow processes to play out, due process to play out, as well as how we approach allegations and just assess what is being alleged. Let me hear what this person has to say.
Morning, Thulas, and the team. Thulas, we attached emotions because we no longer trust our government. We know they want to cover up, so we cannot have emotions on serious issues like this. Look at Palapala. We're waiting for all the processes. Do we know the truth right now?
Yeah.
No, man.
No, I hear you. Absolutely valid point. It has to do with the levels of vigilance that come with just utter, I don't know, we're hurtful. Can I say that on radio? I think I can. Yeah, I think I can. I don't think there's anything untoward with that. If there is, I will apologize properly and profusely. But it's that sense of being hurtful and just like we are fed up. We've had enough. So you can sense it. It's heightened. The moment an allegation is made, the reaction is immediately 0 to 100, and rightly so in many instances. But yeah, just balancing that though with that need to allow for due processes, that's where we really need to find a nice balance. Let me hear what this person has to say about the MK party.
Thulas, good morning. It's amazing that the MK comes here and then says the judiciary is implicated in some of these things that Mokwanazi actually said. But now the very same people are actually going back to the judiciary as well, to the court, because isn't the court part of the judiciary? So they are going back there to ask them to what you last. It can't be.
I hear the point you're making. But at some point, someone has to oversee and preside over this, right? Because also, let's remember, I don't imagine that Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi sought to imply that the entire judiciary is stained and tainted in that way. So, yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one, isn't it? But also the question before the Constitutional Court, I suppose, and this is me just, playing devil's advocate here to the point you're making. The question that the MK party is taking before the Constitutional Court is a different question to the question that outgoing acting Deputy Chief Justice Madlanga will be probing. So I don't know if that makes a difference. That this one is a question that says, should you even be appointing a Judicial Commission of Inquiry? Whereas the other one is going straight to the substance of the allegations that have been made by Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, including against elements within the judiciary. I hope I'm making sense. Churchill in Mthatha, good morning to you.
Thulas, I tried to call yesterday, but I couldn't get through. I was listening to the leader of the Youth League yesterday.
Yes.
And I wanted to comment on what he was saying. I think the young man is living in a totally different world.
Mm-hmm.
What is happening in the ANC is untenable. And maybe he doesn't understand the ANC that is claiming to be leading.
Mm.
The time has come. And I challenge him to go and read the history of liberation movement in 30 years. What happens to them? Corruption in the ANC is in their DNA. It's bound to die. There's no turning back. They're desperate now. So he just needs to understand that. If you look at the tide, you listen to the comments of South Africans, they are fed up. The tide is just turning.
Yeah.
So that's what I challenge him. You must go and read the history of the liberation movement.
Yeah, so you believe that it is destined for the same fate and there's nothing that the ANC can do to dig itself out of that situation?
Absolutely nothing. You can't cleanse corruption from the ANC. In fact, when you try harder, you're killing the ANC more because it gives birth to splinter parties. That's destroying the ANC.
All right. Churchill, thank you for that. That's Churchill out in Mthatha. Let me speak to Cassius in Bloemfontein. Cassius, you want to raise a different issue, and I'm keen to hear what you want to say about this. Talk to me.
Good morning, my brother. Good morning to all
Good morning.
listeners. I'm calling from Bloemfontein. My main problem is the gambling board here in the Free State.
Yes.
It has got people who are investigators or officers that are incompetent or they are taking money under the table. I've been trying to speak to the chairperson, Mr. Jack Clady, at their offices, but I do not get to him. I do not know what kind of a wall have they built in there that one cannot speak to Mr. Clady. The main reason is that Shadrach Musikidi and a legal manager, somebody
Cassius, please.
I complained
wait, Cassius.
in January.
Wait, can I just caution you against making allegations about against named individuals that we've not afforded a right of reply at this point. But you can make the point. You can make the point, and you can make the allegations, but just couch them properly such that we are not unfair to people who are not able to come on and defend themselves. But go ahead.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand. I however, did make this person aware of what I'm going to do.
Sure.
Anyway, the case in hand is that I complained against one of the betting entities that is robbing us as gamblers, especially in horse racing. Now, this company, this guy should just use the rules and the rules that are there that are legally binding about gambling, but he cannot even apply them. It's either he is incompetent in what he is doing, or he is taking money under the table. One of the two. Because I lodged a complaint way back on the 12th of January. Look at where we stretch. Every time he doesn't come back to me. I have WhatsApp messages, I have emails I have sent to him. He has responded and making promises. We have been I have been to him many times, but the guy is just dodging. He's just dodging, and whenever I speak about the matter that we have at hand, he speaks to me as if it's a new thing.
Sure.
It is like he is not noting anything. He's not talking to this company that is chowing our money and cheating us when it comes to the dividends that we have to be paid.
Yeah. So how is this company cheating you, Cassius, very quickly?
Okay. When you make a bet, we have what we call open bet and closed bet. An open bet, it's when money is being calculated like the lotto. Lotto and Powerball, it's an open bet because at the end of the day, when they draw, it's only then that they actually say. That's why they say a guaranteed 100 million.
Yes.
That's just now that you have just said. It's guaranteed. The money will be more than that. And now in a closed bet, it is when they say we are paying 35 to 1, for instance, whereby for every rand we give you 35 rand if you win. For every, or 10 to 1, for every rand you get 10 rand. That is a closed bet. It's sealed before even the closing of the bet. You know exactly what you are going to get. You understand? Now this guy of Bet Exchange, he pays us according to the winnings of the people at the totalizator. But in the terms and conditions, he says he uses the net pool. The net pool is the total money less the cost of the total of the tote, the national our tote, the big one.
Yeah.
But he is hanging under them, pretending that no, I'm gonna pay you according to how the tote pays you.
All right.
At the end of the day, he takes the dividend. The very dividend that the person wins, he gives you the percentage of that.
All right. Cassius, thank you for that. I think there may be a topic there for us to explore how these bets actually work in the wake of the multifold growth in gambling and betting in the country. It might be worthwhile to have a conversation that explains exactly how it all works and how it is possible to have the kinds of schemes that Cassius is alleging out in Bloemfontein. Itumeleng in Mahikeng, you want to talk to me about the MK party. Good morning.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Yes, now I'm actually surprised that we always run to those people that we complain about and seek assistance and help and protection from them. So it baffles me. I don't want to say politicians, but Ntamu is not a politician, I understand, but he must be careful of what he's saying. You can't file and go to court and challenge the decision by the president and come to radio and complain about the judiciary. That you ran to go and seek solace and protection from them. I find it very, very strange. People must be careful on what they are saying on radio. And quick one, next week I'll be calling you. Today, all the members of the Municipal Employee Pension Fund are going to the FSC in Pretoria to march against their pension fund and Akani, the pension fund administrator. But I spoke to you about this thing last time when some National General Secretary was speaking on this matter, and then you left it at that. But sometime next week I will call you and give you feedback and update about this. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to do that. Itumeleng in Mahikeng, I'm happy to pick up that conversation sometime next week. I'll take more of your calls and voice notes just before we wrap up the show.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Been a very busy one if you're on the N3 this morning, coming from Bedford View up through Edenvale on your way to Buccleuch. It's the third collision that we've had on that N3 North at Buccleuch this morning. Traffic remains heavy back as far as Alex. Delays getting into Santa with a crash on Catherine Street at Vrede Road East. So that's very slow coming down from Barlow Parkside. And then Grayston Drive coming from Wynberg across the highway and up to Catherine. Some very heavy backlogging going on there as well. William Mandela and Republic, if you're out of Bryson or coming through from Randburg, that's staying quite heavy on your way into Sandton as well. A crash on the M1 North at New Road. If you're heading up through Midrand towards Pretoria, that's starting to backlog and push a queue back in towards Allendale territory. Durban looking good. I beg your pardon, Pretoria, before we get to Durban, Pretoria looking good. Durban not so good with a crash in on the M13 between Hillcrest and Gillett, and the N2 going south has a crash and a broken down vehicle before Spaghetti Junction. So the rundown from Inanda Road remains very slow into 4 level this morning. Ashburton, Pietermaritzburg checks fine, no major delays there today. And Cape Town, a crash on the M1 inbound involving a cyclist at Sable Road. The M1 into town backs heavily from the Belleville side back as far as Durban Road, and behind that the N7 north out of Goodwood is particularly heavy as you come up and try to get in to that N1 inbound queue. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This July, journey beyond the horizon with Chasing the Sun. 5 mesmerizing episodes every Sunday at 7:30 on SABC2 from 13 July to 10 August. Feel the thrill of the adventure, the power of discovery, and stories that light up the skies. Missed an episode? No worries. Stream anytime, anywhere on SABC Plus. No subscription required. Chasing the Sun. Your Sunday nights just got brighter. Tune in to SABC2, Sundays at 7:30 or watch on SABC Plus on demand.
For the love of the game.
What is Overtrail? Is it off the beaten path, over the edge of comfort, or the thrill of the road less taken? It's over every bridge, every obstacle, every trail, and over to that view that takes your breath away. Overtrail means going further, exploring deeper, surrounded by the comfort and sophistication of a luxury SUV. It's this spirit that inspired the Overtrail project. Experience Overtrail in the LX and GX range. Lexus. Experience amazing.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
Right, if you've ever had to submit an academic paper online, you'll know about Turnitin, and you'll know about the frustrations of Turnitin when it detects, I don't know, similarities that you're like, where does this come from? I remember one instance where the similarity was with a paper that I had written myself previously. So you know what I'm talking about. Well, the University of Cape Town is taking some steps in redefining how artificial intelligence is used in higher education. In a move that might influence policy across the country, the UCT has adopted a university-wide AI in education framework that shifts the focus from policing to preparing, scrapping AI detection tools like Turnitin's AI score and instead investing in AI literacy, ethical use, and innovative assessment methods. Let's hear from Sukaina Walji, who is the director of the Center for Innovation in Learning and Teaching at the University of Cape Town. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. I was expressing the frustration of many students with Turnitin, and particularly with the introduction of the AI score. Tell me what it is that you are doing in relation to that, and how it balances the really good and proper reasons why tools like Turnitin were invented in the first place, and this AI score.
Thank you, and hello to your listeners. That's a great question to start off with, and I would say that the rationale for our decision that is in the AI in Education framework is really to acknowledge that AI tools, and particularly generative AI tools like ChatGPT and Claude, are very much part of our teaching and learning spaces. They are in our personal spaces and are being widely taken up by staff and students at UCT and globally. And we need to have a balanced approach to how to respond and shape some of these developments. So over time, we have decided that in terms of our assessments, it's not feasible to continue to rely on AI detection scores in a range of tools because they're simply not reliable enough. They don't give us confidence that, in decision making going forward. And rather than the effort required to police and understand these tools, it's much better to move forward and look at more broadly, what do we need to do to our assessments to respond to artificial intelligence? How can we contribute to making our staff and students comfortable with AI tools? And really that these types of tools and technologies are going to be prevalent in the workplaces in which our students will be going into. So it's really taking a balanced approach. We absolutely foreground academic integrity, helping staff and students understand the limitations of these tools and that they make good choices when they use these tools in their teaching and learning. And really that's the focus of the framework, is to move forward.
Sounds
and
very
be
noble.
forward-thinking.
Sounds very noble, but academic integrity is not always guaranteed to exist. What are you doing in terms of tweaking your assessment methods for instances where, let's say, the critical mass of your students embrace and display, continue to display academic integrity in their use of AI tools, but to catch those elements that will not adhere to that standard? Are you doing anything in how you are tweaking your assessments?
Absolutely. So, like other universities, we have to and are looking and re-looking at our assessment practices. And there are a couple of strategies that we are applying. So first of all, it's important that where AI is not permitted and should not be used for particular learning outcomes, that those assessments move into what we might call observable environments. So that could involve more invigilated exams, but also other types of innovations that allow the assessment to be observed. Secondly, we're also interested in understanding and breaking down assessment into process of orientation. So really thinking about how to assess the process of getting to an assessment output. And so those are the kinds of assessment redesigns that are required. And then thirdly, it's to actually insert AI into the curriculum itself and to make it a learning outcome. And so that our students are comfortable with using AI and it actually becomes part of their learning, and it can enhance and shape and also be a way that they understand how to use AI in their disciplines.
All right, I've got to leave it there for this morning. Let's see how it all unfolds when that process kicks in earnest from the beginning of October. That's Sukaina Walji, who is the director at the Center for Innovation in Learning and Teaching, and that is at the University of Cape Town.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Let me take two quick voice notes that have to do with the commissions of inquiry, especially the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
Good morning, Thulasizwe Simelane from Durban. These things of commissions, Thulas, they are just waste of our taxpayers' money, honestly. Look at Zondo's commission. Because of his biasness and uselessness, what has it done? Look at Pala Commission. It found prima facie evidence against the president. It was washed down by the parliament. Wouldn't this, if Senzo Mkhunu is on the right faction at that time, be washed down as well as like the president's one? How are they going to trust this Chief Justice now?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. I just feel like as South Africans we must stop labeling Commission of Inquiries, because when it was the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture, we labeled it the Uzondo Commission. Manje, we have another commission that want to label it Umbuyiseli Madlanga Commission. It makes no sense. The Commission of Inquiry is set up and is established by the government, and the government appoints these individuals to chair that commission. Yeah. Then when the commission is finalized, that's when they want to point fingers. They say, hey, no, Madlanga is biased, this, that, and the third. It makes no sense. Daniel here in Bryanston.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's just for ease of reference that people end up calling it the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And I think it probably has its history in the newsrooms, where you have what is called a slug, how you identify a story. But thirdly, I would say the person chairing the commission, the stakes are high for them as well, because it's their credibility on the line to ensure that they do a proper job. So it is fitting that it's always associated with them. That would be my submission in that regard. That's it, really. That's our full and final account to you in as far as your morning brief goes. Stand by. The Talking Point up next here on SAFM after the news. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane, and you've been briefed.
In our top stories, DA against turning Pretoria City Hall into Iranian Cultural Centre, and 4 suspects in DJ Somebody murder case back in court. Good morning.